Hey yo, welcome back to the Random Show, episode number 114, I think. 114, Random Show episode 114, with your host, AgostinhoZinga. We're live, back and direct in the gang. Welcome back. For those of you that were here for the previous episode, you know, congratulations. You're lucky, you're fortunate, you're welcome. But I had to gel quickly and marinate some flipping, turkey, leave it in the fridge so then when I wake up in the morning, or it's the morning now, I can, do what I need to do in order to get it ready for meal prep. That's why I had to kind of pause and run away. So I do apologize for those of you that were around and chilling, having a good time. I didn't want to pause at one show how long it's going to take. So I just thought, you know what, it's best to kind of end the stream here and kind of pick up later on. But I am back. I'm back. Hopefully you're well wherever this may find you. Hopefully you're fine and dandy and all that good stuff. I hope you are fine and dandy wherever this place may find you. I really do hope you're fine and dandy. So for those of you streaming and those of you coming in late, and kind of piling in, the many hundreds and thousands of you, I cannot wait to welcome you with open arms when you do finally come around this way. I cannot wait to to flipping invite you to the open arms. Open you. I don't want to open anybody, please, Flo. I don't want any cases. I'm a young black man living in fucking, in the Western world. I can't afford any flipping cases of me opening anybody, especially against their will. So I don't want anyone opened. I want everyone to chill. I want everyone to have a good time. And I want all of us to enjoy the soothing tones of this catch up on all the good stuff happening with everybody regarding comedians, all that galarkey, that good gluck gluck 9,000s type of stuff. You know how we do, you know how we roll. Anyway, before I rushed away, I was gonna talk about and use the Guardian's review of Bert Kreischer's movie as a sounding off board to talk about the lack of objectivity when it comes to commentators and pundits and consumers and fans alike of people in the comedy scene. I'm seeing nowadays. I'm not liking it because we can all agree that Bert Kreischer's annoying, Bert Kreischer's an alcoholic, Bert Kreischer's a drunk, Bert Kreischer's cringe, Bert Kreischer's kind of pathetic. The whole adult frat boy thing, granddad frat boy thing is getting to is really dumb and annoying. The taking off his shirt thing is kind of hack. The jokes are terrible. And in general, he just is a little bit hard to kind of look at for a, prolonged period of time. We can all agree to that, right? But I don't like this thing that everyone's doing because they're not a fan of him as a person. They can't detach not liking him as a person and also being objective and saying, hey, I can understand why some people might like the movie that he made, The Machine, based on his true or not so true life story of him going to Russia one time during college, right? People can't detach the fact that they don't like him from the idea that maybe the movie might be decent and that maybe the box office, whatever, revenue that it generated may not be indicative of whether it's good or not. Like, it might just be a good comedic movie, but because of the weekend it came out, limited release, like I said already, I'm based in London, and there was only one screening. It was only available to screen, for one day, and I think that was like last week Thursday or something. So it was on a specific day only, and it's not screening any other times. I already checked in my earlier on today. There was no other screening showing, so clearly there's limited release, not much promo apart from the podcast kind of circuit, which isn't the general consumer. So you're never gonna make crazy bucks if it's not pushed to the general consumer, which it wasn't. And whatever it may be, him being a niche star, blah blah blah, all these things involved. I still think spending 20 million on a movie like this it seems a bit over. What I would imagine a movie like that to be costing. I think maybe most movies are probably cost too much to make, which kind of hurts their ability to try and make any money. But I still wouldn't. It wouldn't be unbelievable to me if somebody that I respect their opinion came to me and said, "Hey, Agostino, the movie is actually quite decent," and I would be willing to accept it and I'd be willing to hear that and accept it to be true. But for some reason, the fans out there are using sites like The Guardian as a stick to beat him over the head with. It's like, come on, are you really going to trust The Guardian's opinion on comedy? Any mainstream kind of outlet really view on comedy and, you know, and nuance and jokes and shit or whatever and humor? Are you really going to use their kind of as their metric, as any kind of sign that the movie's good or not? Especially someone like a Bert Kreischer, like, it doesn't really make any sense, to be fair. So I think this 2-star rating from The Guardian is a bit unfair, personally, for me. Because if you give someone 2, you might as well give them 1 star, personally. I think it's probably around the 3 stars if you're going to be generous to it. And I'd imagine if you went to see it, judging by the people on the Bert Kreischer sub, there's plenty of them on there who really did enjoy the movie. They went there, you know, and believed the hype. They believed the fucking sell from, you know, Bert in terms of going there and having a drink, having a good time and really enjoying yourself. And they had a really good time. And I'm not surprised that that is a fact. That is a situation. But for some reason, people are out here making it seem as if, like, if you had a good time enjoying Bert Kreischer's movie, that you're some sort of weirdo or something. I don't really understand that. So let me just see what he says here. It's a clip taken from his premiere where he said this is how to do a premiere. Let's actually just refresh this so it just loads up correctly. This is a video taken from his premiere itself. And I don't know, it looked kind of fun. Would I personally go to it myself? Obviously not. But I can understand if you would like this to be your, you know, evening's entertainment. I can understand it, especially when you consider all the nonsense movies out there now in the cinemas, loads of stupid political messages, loads of culture war nonsense dripped in there. Somebody just making an unapologetically funny movie without any kind of nonsense involved in it. I can understand why it can be successful. And of course, a big part of it is that you have to kind of like the main character in the movie, Bert Kreischer. And if you're not a fan of him as a person, it's going to be hard to kind of get over that. But I still think people are lacking some level of objectivity in this. This is Bert Kreischer walking to his movie premiere, taken from his Twitter account, it looks like. The only thing that's for certain when it comes to Bert, and I think most content creators are like this, I think outside of maybe the stuff that I do, where I just sit in front of a webcam and talk shit. But I think if you actually create content when you're out in the real world, there's a part of me that thinks it must be exhausting to be your friend or to be a member of your family, because every day is like content. Like, he had to like tell somebody to like turn the camera on, get in front of them, have the 2 women behind him walk behind him in that way as he's walking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, somebody's constantly fucking, you know, executive producing, directing your fucking life as you're going about shit. You're out for dinner, you're out for drinks. Oh, hold on 1 second. Let me just record this. It's like, fucking hell. It must be exhausting to be knowing somebody as a content creator, dating somebody that's an entertainer, involved in the entertainment industry, actor in any way, shape or form. It must be fucking exhausting. The people associated with them, the family and friends, actually don't get enough props because they allow the freak like himself and myself, the people that are fucking obsessed with the sound of their own voice and shit, they allow them the ability to kind of do what they do. But Jesus Christ, day to day must be exhausting. Anyway, play the clip.
This is how you roll a premiere. Shirtless with your posse behind us.
The Machine! Can't wait for everybody to see this movie.
Yeah.
Welcome to the motherfucking Machine premiere.
There's a really considerable lack of people here, like in terms of the regulars. Where's Brendan Schaub? Where's Bryan Callen? A big Machine LA premiere, Bert Kreischer, an integral member of the fucking JRE Extended Universe. Where is Brendan Schaub? Where's Bryan Callen? Somebody please tell me. Yo, big up Richie, big up the chat, big up everybody in there. Jesse L, Uche, Urban Mind, Emmanuel Dos Santos, Tyler Durden, big up everybody jumping in there. Oh, and MKRCOVOJ, big up everybody in there. Let's play.
Only movie that has a red carpet with axe throwing, I can promise you that. Boom! Yeah. Let's go! That gets 2 chicks in 20 years, and this is one of them.
Anyway, it keeps pausing a lot because Twitter video fucking fucks up on my laptop. But as you can see, it looked like a fun time. Everyone had a blast. Obviously, the premiere, he put a lot of work into it. Mini golf, fucking axe throwing, people punching shit, shots on the red carpet, wife there, family there. Clearly a fucking blast of a time. And I'm not mad at it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not mad at it. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. I wouldn't mind seeing the movie myself. I'm also wouldn't be surprised if it's fucking dog shit, and I'm also wouldn't be surprised if it's fucking funny. But one thing I'm not gonna do is try and use the Guardian's review of this movie as justification of it being terrible. I'm sorry, like not happening. But I also appreciate some people just aren't gonna vibe with it because they're just not fans of Bert Kreischer. No matter what his movie is about, they're just not gonna give him any kind of props in that regard. I was one of the people that said that it's gonna be a success, right? And that it's gonna do really well, and it's gonna result in him getting a second movie and shit. But based on what I've been seeing on the Bert Kreischer sub about the fucking sales and about the box office opening weekend, it's not looking likely. It's looking like not a lot of people actually came out to watch the movie, unfortunately. So most likely, because Hollywood is a numbers game, they're probably not going to give him a second movie, which is, not the greatest thing, because you'd imagine something like that, it being a success would probably green light and open doors for other podcasters, community comedy type people to have ability to go out there and make movies. So this might be an issue going forward with it. It might be a bit of an issue. But I've read so far that the box office isn't the greatest so far. It's not doing the greatest. And it costs like 20 million to make, innit? Yeah, according to this post here, this is courtesy of what? The Bert Kreischer sub, right now. And they've posted this now, taken from Box Office Mojo. And it says here, the machine has made domestically. Okay, I guess it's worldwide too. It's not included. Everything included, $8 million. $8.8 million, and it costs $20 million to make. So, it's obviously not broken even. So that's a bit of an issue. I think running time also is a bit of an issue. I haven't watched the movie yet, but I think a comedic movie like this shouldn't be any longer than 130 minutes. Sorry, 1 hour 30 minutes. At best, maybe 1 hour 10, 20. But it shouldn't be 1 hour 50. Like, that's like basically a 2 hour movie. That shouldn't happen. Especially with trailers, that's definitely a 2 hour movie. That's too much. So maybe it's too long. It could get cut down a little bit. But, it's one of those things, those first movie vibes. But you know what? Just out of interest, let's actually read the Guardian review of the movie. What do they say here? The Machine review, stand-up comedian makes for limp movie star. They're calling him limp. The funny thing is, I'd imagine if you're an alcoholic, most likely a consequence of being an alcoholic, probably similar to that doing loads of drugs, is that you can't really get it up a lot. So this has got a double entendre, right? The fact that you can't get a boner when you drink too much booze, and then the fact that they're calling him a limp movie star is hilarious. MKCRV says, was hoping the machine would get the next movie greenlit. Fuck you. Fuck you. What my movie would be about? My movie would be a trailer of just me in my loafers skidding all over the granite floor as I'm going, fuck you, man, come here, I'll fuck you up, right? As I'm swinging for the air, fighting some person off camera who maybe does exist or doesn't exist. Just see a fucking close up of my loafers slipping and sliding all over the floor. Anyways, continuing. The machine, the movie star. Well, they gave it two out of 5 stars from The Guardian. So it says here, if you're going to put a stand-up comedian into a big climatic fight scene, it better be really funny. That's just one of the many rules you may not realize were in place before watching The Machine. Fucking hell. They're going from already. A feature-length extension of a stand-up comedian Bert Kreischer's most famous routine. Sorry. It's a story about how a former Florida State University frat boy and prolific partier took college trip to Barcelona. Oi, big up Richie.
As you took a poll, asked everyone, will this movie be good or bomb? We all said bomb, and look at the results. But you stood your ground and going down with the ship in the Balenciaga flats.
Fuck you! Oh, for fuck's sake, man. Why do you guys remember the things I say? Why? Why do you remember the things I say? Fuck! Okay, yeah, Richie's right. Richie is fucking right, okay? Richie is fucking right. I'm not lying. Right now, I'm feeling like this right now. Right now, I'm feeling like this when I see Richie reminding me of the things I may have said. This is how I feel. Oh my god, man. Where is it? Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. This is how I feel. When I see oh, it doesn't fucking matter, does it? Doesn't fucking where is it? No, is it? Yeah, there you go. It's fucking took too long to fucking pull up, and the moment has definitely fucking passed. But you know what? We're gonna keep going anyway. So whenever I see fucking Richie remind me of something that I may have said in the past and my many contradictions, the first thing that comes to mind is this. That's the first thing that comes to mind when you remember my contradictions, right? The Arthur clenched fist, right? Just shaking with fucking rage. Actually, it should be shaking, but for some reason it isn't. The GIF isn't fucking playing. But this is how I fucking feel when I get reminded of my contradictions, my inconsistencies, and my horrible hot takes. Because one thing you're gonna get on the random show for sure, maybe not on the AgostinhoZinga show because I'm reporting on culture and fashion and shit, but on the random show, one thing you know you're gonna get for sure from me on here are incredibly bad hot takes. Incredibly terrible hot takes. You're always gonna get them from me on this side of the internet. Honestly, you want crazy shit hot takes? I'm gonna give it to you right here, okay? Anyway, back to the fucking review from The Guardian. So, it says here, it continues. The story is about how a former Florida State University frat boy and prolific partier took college trip to Russia, where he bumbled into a confidence of the Russian mob and wound up helping some gangsters rob a train. It sounds enough like a set piece from an early 2000s studio comedy that impulse to make a long-form version makes sense, at least on paper. Here, Jimmy Tatro plays a college-age Kreischer in flashbacks, but he doesn't enter the movie until ways in, because the machine makes a strange structural choice. This starts with Kreischer playing a version of himself, already famous comedian, dealing with the aftermath of a viral hit routine. His fame has exacerbated his proclivities toward hard partying, the glorification of which has taken a toll on his family life. Even as it sends his podcasting shooting up the stars. Kreischer's success also brings him to attention of the Russian mobsters who Kreischer's precious family heirloom watch was stolen during Kreischer's robbery. The mobster sends his icy daughter Irina Eva Babich to retrieve Kreischer and improperly bring him back to Russia so he can locate the watch. Eventually, those flashbacks kick in, supplying the particulars of Kreischer's original jaunt and brief accidental life of crime. I'm the only person that thinks that makes sense. So The Guardian thinks it would have made more sense if the movie started with like the young Bert Kreischer and what led up to the machine story, or just basically telling the machine story. They wanted to start in chronological order, so it starts from young Kreischer and then goes into like current day Kreischer. I think it makes more sense starting it with like current day because the movie is about him and we recognize him. So it starts off with like the guy that you recognize from the podcast and shit, talking about, you know, living his life. And then it goes, oh, this reminds me of the time when I was young, and gets into a flashback. No? So already I don't trust the Guardian's review because structurally they would have made a shit movie. If the movie's already shit now, it would have been worse if it started off with like young Kreischer, with an actor that doesn't look anything like Bert Kreischer, personally. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think this guy, what's his name? Jimmy Tatro. I don't think he looks that much like Bert at all, personally. Not even like Bert when he was young and not fat. They don't look that similar. He's way more handsome, number one, and they just don't look that similar at all. So you would have started this movie with him in the beginning, playing Bert, and it just wouldn't have looked correct. I don't think so, personally. But again, what do I know? Continue. I've never made a movie. What do I know? The decision to put the present-day Kreischer front and center drops viewers into Bert's unpleasant home life, full of friction with his teenage daughter, Georgia, played by Jessica Gabor, and worsened by a visit for his neddling father, Albert, Mark Hamill, who winds up accompanying him on his return to Russia. With its early US scenes, the movie asks for an extraordinary amount of buy-in for anyone unfamiliar with the Kreischer story, which is treated alternatively like a globe-rattling, unavoidable pop hit, and a matter of intense curiosity for anyone unfamiliar with it. Okay, cool. I get what they mean here. They basically got annoyed that the movie starts off with the presumption that you must know who Bert Kreischer is. I get that. So they got annoyed at that assumption, that kind of assumption that everybody must know Bert Kreischer. He's been on the Joe Rogan Experience. He's a famous comedian. He does Two Bears, One Cave. He's got the Bert cast. And that assumption that these guys are way more... That's the thing that's probably the issue here in hand anyway. These guys are probably very famous in their own niche, but outside of that niche, they're not that famous, if that makes sense. But also, I don't think a lot of people even know the names. I'm sure they probably seen a clip of Bert, have maybe seen a clip of him on Rogan, a clip of him laughing at something virally on the podcast, a clip of him doing crowd work or a bit on the special. But they probably can't even put a name to the face. They just know the face. So I get this. So I get if you're coming into it blind, it could be a little bit annoying. Yeah, nobody knows who you are. Exactly. It continues. The double hubris illustrate the bind the filmmakers find themselves in. Do they retell the story straight and risk boring Kreischer's fans? Or do they attempt to elaborate on the story and risk alienating anyone without a pre-existing interest in what Bert Kreischer's trick? In what makes Bert Kreischer tick? The machine does both, but ultimately favors the latter, which involves a fair amount of comedian navel-gazing. Easy enough to do. One of Kreischer's trademark is his shirtlessness. He is essentially retelling his signature story without the built-in jokes of his own narrative and reflecting on it years later. In the process, Kreischer creates perhaps the first ever legacy sequel to a stand-up special, and certainly first one to follow up just 7 years after its release. I get it. I get what he means. I get what they mean in their review, to be fair. I get what they mean with their review. If you're coming in it as a straight up familiar with this scene of guys and whatnot, I understand those reservations, to be fair. But I still think this doesn't talk about if the movie is funny or not. It's just still a lot of like structural opinions about the movie. Is the movie funny? Because it's a comedic movie. That's the whole point why it exists. Yeah, big up Gabriel. I'm glad you guys have joined. Big up Marty Moose. We just live for the sake of being live, man. No reason. We're just here for the sake of it. And also, we don't have any friends. We continue here. This ambitious undertaking might make more sense if the movie rooted itself more familiarly in a specific period. It's minor detail in the grander scheme of things, but this film's time passage math is scattershot. At one point, Kreischer talks about these events happening around 20 years ago, which doesn't match up with the movie given age of 48. Based on that figure, the story should be taking place in 1993. But Kreischer's pop culture references and the movie's impressively high-quality needle drops come from notably later in the decade, which is still more 20 years ago. While his wardrobe showcases t-shirts out of the mid-1980s, maybe this is all reconciled to the original routine. Yeah, but that's the whole point, though. These little like things this person's recognizing are holes in the story that actual fans were saying that was kind of leading to the fact that a lot of people didn't believe the story in the first place until I think one of Bert Kreischer's, classmates. Yeah, I think if I remember the law correctly, one of Bert Kreischer's classmates in college came on his podcast and basically corroborated the story, or maybe commented something on Facebook. And she said, yeah, this actually happened. I remember that being a thing because a lot of people didn't believe him. But a lot of the kind of missing of the stories is probably him from memory. He's a fucking alcoholic. There's no way he's going to remember everything. So cool. And then he's kind of fill in the holes and make it funny and punch up a bit. But a lot of that is based on it being a long time ago. And there's parts of it also that aren't true and completely made up. That probably adds to the whole affair. But anyway, let me quickly pause the mic because I blow my nose. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, we're back. So it continues. A few stray jokes land. Albert has a funny line, deeply dad-like on his self-seriousness about how he took a vow of non-violence after reading a Nelson Mandela biography, and there's a couple of gross gore gags. But among all the Russians, only Irina registers as a comic character, and only just barely. Of course, The Guardian would say, only the woman's the best one in the movie. Of course they would say that. If there was if Bert had a black friend, they'd probably say the black friend was the funniest bit in it. Oh, Agostino was the best comedic relief. His hair, the way he moves around, his mannerisms, the stories. Like, of course they would say that. That isn't really a good indication of the movie, to be fair. It continues. The film's director, Peter Atenko, cut his teeth on the Key and Peele sketch series, as well as the duo's favorite film, Keanu. He knows how to bring genuine cinematic characters to life into absurd situations. In this particular movie, though, he seems to be studying from the book of Hangover trilogy director Todd Phillips, shooting for slickness rather than slight gags, or maybe the screenplay simply didn't supply the raw materials to create those gags. Either way, The Machine is surprisingly stylish as it is surprisingly unfunny. The final gimmiest surprise is how the movie attempts to give Kreischer some of the therapeutic growth. Premised on an eventful hogwash revelation about a comedian serving as a de facto protector of the people, expecting audiences to cheer with excitement as Kreischer guzzles vodka and becomes an unstoppable fighting machine is bad enough. Hoping that they'll take away some valuable life lessons about balance and being yourself seem an awful lot like denial. Okay, this is a really good point. I have to take a lot of this back. I gotta lie. I started off hating this review, but this review makes a lot of good points about why people don't like Bert and why he's quite insufferable and hard to kind of take in large doses. Especially this end bit. Because I felt like there's been a bit of promo I've seen of Bert where he's basically giving these like rallying speeches, almost these like Anthony Robbins type of rah motivational speech before the movie about this movie is about being you and coming into your power and all this sort of nonsense. It's like, hold on, bruh. You're a lifelong alcoholic. Like, this story is about you getting fucked up on a college trip and ending up entangled in the Russian mob. This isn't a story to kind of use as a kind of a motivational for people to go out there and get their passport stamped up. This is like a cautionary tale. This is like one of those, hey, I got away with this because I got away with this, but this is a cautionary tale. Make sure that you mind your P's and Q's in foreign countries type of stuff. But he's using it as a rah-rah speech. So I think these last few lines are really indicative of why people find it hard to kind of root for Bert, because what you're rooting for isn't really a good thing. The last line. Expecting audiences to cheer with excitement as Bert Kreischer guzzles vodka and becomes an unstoppable fighting machine is bad enough. Hoping that they'll take away some valuable life lessons about balance and being yourself seems an awful lot like denial. And what's the one thing people say about Bert? That he's super in denial. So this is fucking a crazy thing to say. But I'm also not gonna lie. Oh, it's out. Okay, cool. The Machine's out in the okay, June 2nd. I'm watching it tomorrow. Fuck it. I'm watching it tomorrow. I don't give a fuck. I'm watching it tomorrow. Let's actually check for times. The Machine. Let's see if they got available in London. View London. I'm actually gonna book a ticket and watch it tomorrow. Let's see if it's available. Yay, it's available tomorrow to watch. Okay, cool. So you're gonna get my review live and direct tomorrow when I go and watch it. Let's see if it's available here. Let's see what tickets they've got available here to check it out on. No time showing. Okay, cool. Can I get any cinema in London showing it, please? Let's see if we can just type London and see if it's showing in any. Or we have to type in a Pacific London place. Okay, cool. It's not letting me show it. Okay, let's go back then. Let's go The Machine London viewings. This is not a good sign. Why can't I find any viewings for this? There'll be plenty of tickets available. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. We got Cineworld. Let's see what Cineworld is saying. Do Cineworld have any tickets available in any branch of London? Whoa. What are people saying about this movie? No tweets, no tickets. Okay, nothing going on there. No screenings about this at all? Zero? Nothing? No tickets? Showing in? Zero? Waiting poster? Showing in? Come on, showing in. Should we want to? No, let's block that. We don't want to just allow our location. It's not showing anything. Okay, let's see if I type this in on the search bar. What's happening here? Is this like a conspiracy? Are they trying to cancel him? Is he the uncancelable one? Nothing. Look, the Cineworld, The Machine. Come on, sir. Nothing's happening up here. Oh, this isn't looking good. Okay, let's see. Loading results. Okay, it's available now. 2 films. Unlimited. Okay, it's cool. Limited screening. Release date 31st. So let's see this one. Let's see if this has got a viewing. Let's see if this works. I don't want to give them my look. You don't have to just show me the fucking listings. Is it available anywhere? Nothing again. Okay, let's go back to Google. This is so bizarre. Viewings, tickets. I don't know. Let's see if it comes up this way. Nothing. You'll indeed have a theatre by yourself. Bring a date. This is horrible. But yeah, it's not. I can't find them. What the fuck the tickets at? Nothing's available here. London viewing. Okay, let's take away tickets. See London viewings. Cineworld, I checked it. Louis Love Cinema. No tickets here. Okay, sorry. Okay, cool. Let's see what Louis Love Cinema is saying here. This is very, very interesting. Why you can't find anything to buy tickets for this event. Okay, cool. Let's get that out of the way here. Anything here? Nothing. Show times. Availability. We handpicked. Okay, place. I don't want to stream. I want to buy tickets. Let's see. Nothing on there. This is kind of wild, to be fair. I wonder what's happened. Maybe it got pulled altogether. Maybe it got pulled. Honestly. The fact that he got this movie greenlit should be an accomplishment in itself, right? It's a movie based on a story that probably isn't true. And it's a story that doesn't probably deserve a movie. Maybe a limited amount of series, like a 4-episode run, a little kind of 20-minute episode type of thing. That would have probably worked better. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm surprised. There's literally no screenings for it available that I can check out. Let's check out this one. London Net. Let's see londonnet.co.uk. Do they have any screenings I can just check to see the tickets that are available? I don't see anything here. Okay. It's showing from Friday the 2nd of June. But why can't I see? Okay, there we go. Finally, we got some information. So we got it available in Cineworlds and Odeons and also Genesis Cinema. But this is like what? Next week, Wednesday? What day is that? Okay, so there's nothing available for the 2nd. So what's available on the 1st of June? What's available on the 1st? Nothing here. So what's the day? It's Thursday, right? There's nothing available here for today, the Thursday, because I'd watch it. I'd actually go watch it later today if it's available, but I can't see it. So let's just see if we can book a later time at one of these other cinemas. These are all so far away though. Fucking hell. Let's see if the Genesis has anything. Genesis Cinema. They have it available. Okay, cool. Let's see Genesis Cinema have it available. This is pretty wild. I'm not gonna Genesis Cinema. What's that? Uche, this movie flopped harder than Callen's eyelids. Honestly, this hill I'm dying on with the machine is fucking wild because I'm going on like it's fucking Godfather or some shit. I'm not letting this one die. But it's so clear no one gives a fucking fuck. And these guys clearly aren't as famous as they think they are. You know, and I'm just not letting it go. I'm just holding on to it. Like it's something worthwhile to hold on to. Let's see if I can find it. It's not available on there. Is it available? Can you see here? The machine. It's not even on the list. Nothing here. Can I read? No. Can I search for movies here? What's on? Fucking hell, brother. What's on? Family film. Nope, we don't want to see that. By title. Can I just screen it? Can I look at it by title? Okay, a young boy. Okay, these are all in alphabetical order. No, they're not. Yo, can't I just search? What's with this fucking website? Why can't you just let me search for a title? What is it? By title, by date. What is this? Okay, by date. How do you search by title? Okay, let's just do by date. Let's imagine we're gonna go today. What's available? Where is it? The 1st, right? Okay, the 1st. There's no machine here. Fucking hell, brother. Okay, so it's I don't know where it is. It's not available. It's not anywhere. I'm trying my best to look for it. It's not happening. So I guess maybe the internet has decided that BERT Crasher movie was a flop. Maybe. But you can look at it both ways, right? Both ways, as Brendan Schaub will say. Look at it both ways. Oh, mate. What people saying in the chat? AG says the theaters are so far away. Yeah, they're too far, man. There goes the ton of Segura movies. He lost all the weight for nothing. Oh yeah, true. Bless him. Which is what Papa the person we premiere. Nah, but Brendan definitely wasn't there. He's at least catch the matinee to get to the discount. Then he might be worth it. Okay, fair enough. The movie's not worth leaving your home for. Netflix maybe. You know what's funny? That's probably gonna happen. That should be that should happen sooner rather than later. To be fair. Excuse me? Marty Moose. The machine sold 6 million and 300, so basically 6.3 million in the US and only sold 100K outside of the US. So that figure of 8 million that I got all together may be inflated, maybe not. But the fact that it's not breaking 10 and it cost 20 mil to make is painful. It only made 100K outside the US. Damn, son. Yeah, that might be a flop, in it. I think that might be a flop. What do you think, guys? I think that might constitute as a flop. If you only make 100K internationally, that might constitute as a flop. Maybe. Jesus Christ. To be fair, it's not surprising, isn't it? I think a lot of people were thinking that when he put the movie out in the first place. I don't think a lot of people had faith that he was going to do well. I thought he would do well because, like I said, the climate in movies at the moment, people are making too many ideologically possessed movies and shit. I thought maybe a bit of comedic relief would be great. But then I also didn't factor in how unlikable and maybe non-famous Bert is, right? He's not the most famous guy in the world. And he's not the most likable guy in the world, so it made sense why some people kind of weren't really gonna be big fans of the movie or root for it or come out for it. It made sense, you know? I should have maybe had that in mind, but again, you know, I always tell you, man, the random show is your home of fucking horrible hot takes. And if I can give you horrible hot takes, then I'm gonna give you horrible hot takes. I'm not gonna stop on that bad boy. I'm not gonna stop, okay? You can't stop me with my horrible hot takes. You can't stop me. Anyway, moving on. This might be another horrible hot take thing to talk about. So this article's gone somewhat viral within the comedy fans subreddit type of scene, right? The GRE extended universe scene. Everyone's talking about this article from Hollywood Reporter because a lot of people are surmising that this article that's headlined comedian Bobby Lee sues Wondery over cancelled TIGERBELLY podcast contract. Everybody's coming to the conclusion that this article is an indication that the LA comedy podcast bubble is about to pop. And this is like the great recession in LA podcast comedy scene type of things. And I'm gonna throw out there my uninformed hot take. Not read the article in full yet. I'm going to read it with you guys. My uninformed hot take is this isn't an indication that the bubble's about to burst when it comes to comedic podcasts and shit. This is more of an indication that the platform Wondery, and I think Amazon bought it, that they basically overhedged. They basically pay too much for podcast and they're not bringing back enough. But it's not an indication of the overall kind of lay of the land. I think maybe overall content creators are maybe seeing a dip in terms of their contract because there's just not enough money in the economy at the moment to fulfill people's desires and whatnot, to kind of get the real big bucks that maybe Joe Rogan was getting. But I don't think this issue that TIGERBELLY is going through and Bobby Lee is an indication that the LA podcasting scene is a bubble's about to burst. I don't think so. I think it's more a specific case about Wondery betting way too big on pods, you know, paying way over the odds for some that don't deserve the money, have inflated figures, are buying views and bots and stuff. Because that's something I've realized also, having done a lot of content now and been on YouTube for a while and doing this kind of on a semi-serious basis for a long time now. I've realized and I've seen from other things, because I thought at first it was a weird cope for people that weren't getting views and a weird cope for fans who felt like their favorite pod wasn't getting views via something else. But I also think there's some truth to what people are saying. There's a big community of people who make content who buy views. It's like a thing that happens a lot, and a thing that happens a lot often. And I think it's a thing that people don't really want to admit and speak about openly, but it's something people do on a daily basis with their content. And the funny thing about it, having checked some of these sites that you can buy packages for views and likes, it's not cheap. Like, if you want to actually buy views that will make a change to your business in terms of allowing you to get bigger contracts for sponsors, allowing you to maybe look like you're actually doing sick numbers, right? You have to pay like quite a bit, like for 50,000 views plus and stuff. You're paying in the grands. It's not cheap. So I was surprised. At first I was thinking, wow, these guys are really spending a lot of money. But then I think about it wrong, because I'd imagine spending £1,000 for one video to get 50,000 views is a good decision to make if you only care about signing contracts to get sponsors for your pod, because those fake metrics are going to allow you to get a contract of like 50 grand over 3 years, or 50 grand per year for a 3-year contract. And then you can basically keep inflating the numbers every 3 years to keep that contract running over, which a lot of people are doing. I think people have accused Brendan Schaub of doing that. I think, no, I'm sorry. That's what BGL alleged is going on. I think somebody asked BGL, I think in the AMA, about Brendan Schaub and about, oh, how is he able to keep everything afloat? The views are shit. We know no one watches the show. The show is terrible. How is it happening, innit? And he said something like, oh, he's definitely buying views. And the thing I think he said, BGL, was that most podcast sponsorship are like run, there's like a lapse in the length, I think. I think it's I think he said something along the lines of like, most podcast sponsorship are signed like 3 years, like hence. They're not signed like a year. So you kind of sign something based on the metrics that you're doing now. But then in 3 years' time, if you dip, you're still kind of, you can still kind of double dip and kind of inflate your numbers so that it kind of looks good, but you're always kind of running on a bit of a delay. So the deals that you've got now aren't necessarily conducive to you, how successful you are in a right now. It's basically based on numbers from like 3 years ago and whatnot. Anyways, getting into the article. It says here, comedian Bobby Lee is suing Wondery for a breach of contract after the audio company allegedly cancelled a multi-year ad sales and distribution deal for the podcast TIGERBELLY, and he co-hosts with Kalila Kuhn. That must be a lot of money though, isn't it? To be fair, that's probably a lot of money. If they promise to, sign up with Wondery, have them on their platform, maybe do some exclusive content and do ad sales and whatnot and reason whatnot, maybe it was an exclusive deal similar to what Rogan did with Spotify, that's a lot of money that they kind of are entitled to. And if that's in writing, it seems odd that this happened, because you'd imagine if they had a contract and it was broken by the platform, they have a basis to kind of get that money back and maybe more in damages. So it's strange that they would even do this in the first place. Just pay them, innit? Even if it's going to make you bankrupt, you'd rather pay that than having to pay considerably more down the line when it goes to court. But hey, what do I know? The complaint filed in Los Angeles on Thursday, on behalf of Lee's TIGERBELLY company, alleges that Wondery was under pressure to cut expenses and roll back its financial commitments in anticipation of the podcast market slowdown in 2023, leading the company to terminate its 39-month deal with TIGERBELLY Podcasts in early April. So everybody is assuming there is going to be a podcast slowdown. Interestingly enough, somebody that's been speaking about this a lot has been Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon was the first person I remember say it in this heyday, like, surely it has to come to an end. Maybe it's his like nihilism and his, woe is me, black pill type of side of things in his kind of temperament. But he was somebody that was saying at the peak of everything that was going on, him on Rogan, him on The Fire and the Kid, Chris D'Elia and he's pumped, Theo Von doing his shit. Like when everyone was red hot. I remember Tim Dillon saying quite early on, surely this is going to end. This ain't going to last forever. Like, people are making money hand over fist. It's going to come to an end at some point. I don't think, again, like this is conducive to the whole scene. I think it's specific a Wondery thing, but taking those things into account, I could be incorrect. It continues. The deal which TIGERBELLY and Wondery reached in December 2022 was in exchange for a multi-million-dollar financial guarantees that reflected the widespread success and popularity of the podcast. So they're missing out on millions. I wish we could find out the deal or what they signed it for. TIGERBELLY, Wondery deal. announced. Let's see. Let's see. TIGERBELLY dropped by Amazon over. Oh, okay. Ah, look at this subreddit post. Headline. I'm not gonna click it, but look at the headline. TIGERBELLY dropped by Amazon over Tijuana story backlash. So maybe that's why they got dropped. Obviously, you know, they're gonna use the fucking cover that it's the financial system and economy at the moment. Maybe because they can't really. This is not really a breach of contract. Maybe, but that might be the real reason why TIGERBELLY got dropped from Amazon, because of that Tijuana story going viral again a couple of months back. Maybe that's a point. I don't have the numbers for it, but I wonder how much deal worth. Was it like 10 million, 5 million? I'm not too sure. It doesn't say. Amazon buys Wondery. Okay, cool. Jesus Christ. Amazon valued Wondery at 300 million. Only a couple years ago. That's insane. Let's click. This was from The Verge about Wondery when Amazon bought it. Okay? So this maybe does mean the podcast bubble is bursting, because this is only 3 years ago. And look how much has changed so far. Amazon buys Wondery. This is from 3 years ago, courtesy of The Verge. Amazon buys Wondery, setting itself up to compete with Spotify for podcast domination. So this means Amazon is basically giving up on podcasts, essentially. You'd imagine, with them kind of winding things down with Wondery. So it says here, at Wondery, one of the last major independent podcast networks, might soon be owned by Amazon. The companies announced an acquisition deal today, ending speculation about who might eventually buy the network, which is most well known for its true crime podcast Dirty John. Amazon didn't disclose the acquisition prices, but although early reports from Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal suggest Wondery's value is at 300 million. Wondery will technically be part of Amazon Music, which launched podcast support in September. Wondery CEO Hernan Lopez will step down and leave the company when the deal closes, and COO Jane Sargent will take over, according to Wall Street. In my opinion, I don't even know why Amazon even bought Wondery. Unless they have a really popular, maybe those true crime podcasts do crazy numbers, so it's unavoidable. But if you're Amazon, surely just building out your own podcast division from scratch is a far better way to do it than signing a massive network that's already established and paying way over the odds for their talent, especially when you imagine the entire network of podcasts on Wondery, maybe only one or two of them actually make them money. The rest of them are just kind of enjoying the glow of the one or two that actually pull numbers. So you're overpaying for just 2 podcasts on there that you actually like, and the rest of them are fucking shit. So I don't get why they didn't just like build their own podcast division themselves from scratch and start small. That would have set them up way better than actually trying to overpay for something that already exists. I don't know. Again, I'm not a numbers guy. Let's go back to the article. In the termination notice sent to TIGERBELLY, Wondery also allegedly cited moral clause and pointed to a 2013 story that Leasehold and later said was made up for shock value. Oh, this explains so much. No wonder Bobby Lee was going around saying that all these stories are fake, basically taking everything back about his weird upbringing, about his weird sexual exploration in his youth, and how he always felt less than, and he had to go and hire hookers in Tijuana and Thailand allegedly to go and lose his virginity and all this sort of shit and all the other freak shit he's done in his life. He was taking so much of the stories that made Bobby Lee who he is and what made people fans of his podcast. It made people, even I'm like a casual TIGERBELLY fan, but I remember seeing on the sub loads of fans like disappointed, like, rah, I kind of was a fan of Bobby Lee and kind of loved him because he lived such a crazy, debaucherous, gluttonous, hedonistic life when he was younger. Now he's sober, but that's what kind of drew me into the guy, that he's such a fuck up. And now I'm learning all those stories that brought me so much joy because I maybe resonate with them, or it's something that I can just relate to, or whatever it may be. They're all fake. It kind of threw people for a loop. But now it makes sense because literal millions was on the line. Millions of dollars was on the line. So I don't blame him for taking it all back and saying it was all a prank. It's a prank. It's a prank, bro. It didn't happen. It's a prank. Because millions on the line. Fuck. Anyway, about paying for a young-looking sex worker who had tears in their eyes in Tijuana, while a guest on other podcasts, a complaint said. Prior to the Wondery termination of the contract, Lee is also subject to public pushback after clips of the comedian telling the Tijuana story began resurfacing online in late March, leading Lee to address the story again in April. In the episode, Lee said he felt terrible and explained that he made up the story by combining two bits that he had used on a tour about going on a date with a girl who looked like she was 12. Explaining that Tijuana joke away and making it make sense by saying the girl you dated looked like a 12-year-old is not the best way to defend yourself. I don't think so. Anyway, a 12-year-old Natalie Portman for the movie Leon, The Professional. Another about speeding up having sex with a girlfriend who started crying about her deceased grandmother. Now, me, to be fair, if I'm going to be, and again, I want to be the fucking, what's that word called? Contrarian guy of the year. But I have a bit of a bee in my bonnet about this type of shit. Don't sign controversial, edgy people who get loads of views online and then get surprised about their controversial and edgy past. Maybe say something in the current times to break your trust, fair enough, or whatever that goes against what you stand for, cool. But if you sign controversial, edgy guy or girl, and then suddenly clips come out of them being controversial and edgy, you're not allowed to terminate the contracts. I think that's super out of order. You sign them off the basis that they go viral for saying the things that people don't usually say, for saying edgy stuff and pushing the line and whatever it may be. Then keep your word. You know what I mean? Like, sign them and hold them down for that regard. But then deciding to suddenly be the moral police and it's all wrong and naughty is crazy, because that Tijuana story has been around for time. Like, Wondery and Amazon didn't do their due diligence. They didn't do their background checks, which I don't think a lot of these companies do. One thing I realized with covering these comedians and people in the entertainment industry, I found out from Joey Diaz specifically, no one watches tape. Joey Diaz has mentioned on many podcasts, on Church of What's Happening originally. He's mentioned it now when he's got his podcast on to promote his book. But Joey Diaz always said when he was starting out in Hollywood doing auditions, and people would ask him for tape and, basically, stuff that he's done already on tape, compilations of his skits and whatnot, acting real, scissor reel, whatever you call it. He would send them sometimes blank DVDs. And they would ring back and say, hey, I checked out your tape, you're fucking amazing, and book him for a show. And he knows he didn't say anything. He didn't send anything. The CD was blank. So they were booking him based off his clout or him being friends with Rogan or because he was a good fit. But they'd always lie and say they watched the tape when they didn't. So people don't watch tapes, clearly. And another thing I learned in the entertainment industry, nobody does actual background checks. So they sign these popular podcast people, these popular content creators, these popular influencers, public figures, and they do no background checks. Not even a slight Google during the meeting to just see what people say about this person. Their name, Reddit. Their name in Twitter. Their name on Google. News. Look through the articles. Zero. They just kind of like always get caught off guard. Oh, surprise. Surprise. I fucking hate that shit, personally. Anyway, TIGERBELLY's complaint alleges that the company never agreed to a moral clause in its contract with Wondery. Bobby Lee is scrambling. He's like, look, you didn't say it would be an issue if I fuck 12-year-olds in Tijuana. So technically, now that it's come up, you can't be mad. You can't be mad. It's like, promise. It's like saying to a girlfriend or boyfriend, promise you won't be mad. Okay, cool. First, I cheated. Okay, cool. I'm sorry. And it was with a 12-year-old. Okay, I'm sorry. It was in Tijuana. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, they're scrambling, mate. Fucking hell. And noted that Wondery would have known about the Tijuana story prior to striking a deal. The TIGERBELLY episode was also released before the beef actor and David Cho apologized and claimed that he had made up the story about raping the massage therapist during his 2014 episode of the podcast. So everybody now is making up stories. Everybody now is just joking. Everything was a joke. Everything was a made up story. Everything was an elaborate plot to be famous. Nothing was real. You can't believe any of these comedians, man. Fuck, man. My fucking childhood's been ruined. A representative from Wondery did not immediately have comment when reached by the Hollywood Reporter. TIGERBELLY is seeking a jury trial and damages in the millions of dollars, according to the complaint. Lee, who has a recurring role in Magnum PI and Sex and the City reboots, created TIGERBELLY podcast with Coon in 2015 and uploaded weekly episodes on YouTube and on major podcast platforms. I love how Kalila is like always in this fucking bits in it. That guy, what's his name? Comedy enforcement guy. He's gonna be so pissed reading this article because Kalila's name is like featured in here all the time. Like, how many times have they mentioned Kalila? Let's see Coon. But she's like an integral part of the pod. Yeah, she's got 2 mentions on there. Co-host with Kalila Coon. Podcast with Kalila Coon. Like, that comedy enforcement guy is gonna be I hate women. He's gonna be so angry. Anyway, I hate this sexy Filipino bitch. I hate her. Exactly. He's gonna be so mad. Anyways, uploading weekly episodes. The show has ranked among the top 50 podcasts in comedy category on Apple Podcasts, according to Chartable. And the recent guests have included Megan Trainor. So, what's my final takeaway from this? My final takeaway from this is kind of a bit long. So, number one, comedians for a long time had this thing that they would always say, like they were cowboys of the entertainment industry. That they were kind of like, maybe like a quasi Peter Pan, independent soldier type of person, never going to stand up to the man, against the establishment, anti-cancel culture. But really and truly, they all really want to be part of the industry. When a deal comes across their table, very rarely have you seen a comedian reject it. They all sign up to them deals. And most of those deals and those platform sign-ups, network sign-ups, are usually a kind of all-inclusive thing where they're usually tied in with ads. So your podcast, you sign up to a network or to whatever it may be, they kind of, or an agency, they take under the umbrella and they're the ones that get the ads and the sponsors for you. So all you have to do is, specifically, is sit in front of the camera like I do, press record and go. And they handle all the actual money that you generate from your pod. Maybe outside of merch, you do it yourself, but anything to do with ads and promo and stuff, they handle it. So that's why these guys and girls love signing up to networks. But they'll like you to believe that they're anti-cancel culture, they don't want to be controlled by the man, they do their own thing. And actually, the weird thing for me as being a fan of comedy is that if you actually want to be a comedian and you want to push the envelope, you want to push up right against the line, you want to be edgy, you want to say what the fuck you want to say, this platform is actually the best. Because even if you get booed off of a place like YouTube and they tell you you're breaking TOS, you can go onto many other video sharing platforms, streaming platforms, Kicks, the Rumbles, the Twitches, even they kick you off of there. If that doesn't work, you can go behind a paywall on Patreon. There's so many platforms you can go and be kind of have no filter and just say what you want, but they don't want to do that. Really, they really don't want to do that. They kind of want to play within the kind of margins. They want to play within the scene, but also be looked at as some sort of like, you know, cancel culture soldier, like anti-woke, whatever it may be. But really, they're playing the same game. That's the funny thing about it. They all get signed up to deals. Like I can't think of many podcasts within the LA comedic, the Jerry Extended Universe type of scene that are independent. I can't think of many. And the funny thing about it, I would imagine, again, I don't know much, but I would imagine you could actually make more money being independent than signing up to an agency or a network and shit. You can actually make more. It obviously require more work because you have to fill the inquiries yourself. You have to maybe source them. You maybe have to do a lot of outbound calls, emails, shit, whatever it may be. But if you actually was in it to make money and you actually was in it to have a platform where you could be unfiltered and say what you want and untethered and, you know, not have anybody over you, overbearing, telling what you can or cannot say, you would do it on your own. You would actually bet on yourself, as Jesse L is saying now in the chat. You would actually bet on yourself, but they don't. They don't bet on themselves. They bet on themselves because they're talking by themselves in front of a camera, but everything else is handled by somebody. Someone does the merch. Someone does the ads. Someone does the sponsors. Someone does the website. Someone updates the fucking list. Like, all of that shit's been handled by somebody else. But they act like they're like... And also, the fact about it is all that's annoying. They act like they're doing a lot of hard work. They're working hard. No, you're not. Your producer does everything for you. He does the thumbnails, does all the artwork, does all the titles, descriptions, the timestamps, All you do is sit in front of a camera and basically fuck around. And some of them can't even do that. They start talking to you about fucking COVID and start giving you fucking life lessons. That's the funny shit about it. But I also think it's fucking hilarious that one of Bobby Lee's kind of stories that made him famous and made him kind of a household name and kind of endeared him to a whole group of fans is also the one story that is potentially going to cost him the most amount of money he would have ever received in his history of his career. Because there's no denying a lot of these guys, if podcasting didn't exist, they would never be as famous as they are now. Like, the podcast boom effectively changed all these guys' lives. So it's no surprise that they are fighting tooth and fucking nail to hold on to what they have and to also fight for what they think they deserve. Because they know this is never going to come back around again. They're never going to have a chance to make multi-million-dollar deals based off of the dumb things they say in front of a microphone, because sooner rather than later, people are going to not care anymore. And it's not going to be cool or cute anymore to hear like Bobby Lee, if I'm not mistaken, is like 57, approaching 60. He's not going to be cool. He's not going to be cute anymore. People are going to see him for his age soon. And all those stories and him being awkward, him being shy, him being like a big kid, it's going to look a bit lame. And fans are going to get put off by it and eventually go their separate ways. So clearly, they have to try and get what they need from this deal, because it's not going to come back around again. But again, all these comedians are full of absolute shit in terms of being independent, going against the man, being by themselves, not signing deals, being independent. They all want to be a part of Hollywood. They all want to be on Netflix. They want to be on a big network. They all want to sell out desperately. But most of them don't have anything worth selling out for, really, it looks like. And businesses are legitimately thinking, hey, we paid way over the odds for you. Because if they're valued at 300 million, you would imagine, considering what other podcasts were getting at the time, I would be led to believe that Bobby Lee's TIGERBELLY was possibly signed to that network for the region of, I'm going to say 10 to 20 mil. Easy. They probably signed TIGERBELLY to Wondery for 10 to 20 million. And in my opinion, I think TIGERBELLY podcast by itself is overpriced for 10 to 20 million. If you include TIGERBELLY and, what's it called? Bad Friends, fair enough. But I don't think Andrew Santino seems like a smart guy. I don't think he would allow that deal to go through like that. But if they would have included, you know, TIGERBELLY Productions includes TIGERBELLY Pod and fucking Bad Friends, fair enough. But just TIGERBELLY for 10 to 20 mil for like a contract, you know, just to basically distribute the show or to just have it under their network or whatnot, or exclusivity for a short amount of time. Nah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it in the slightest. It's not worth it in the slightest, especially when you consider the whole magic of TIGERBELLY was that, you know, Kalila and Bobby Lee were like in a couple. They were together, right? Now that they're not together anymore, and then this weird kind of working relationship thing, that's awkward. That doesn't work. Clearly, they've had a lot of history. Things have gone on behind the scenes that have affected the kind of chemistry of the show. So it's not as fun as it was before. Maybe the fact that Bobby Lee's becoming a legit, you know, kind of actor in his own regard isn't helping. Kalila maybe getting famous in his own regard isn't helping. But the show isn't as good as it once was. It's probably never going to reach the heady heights of what it was 3-4 years ago. So paying 10 to 20 million for it now is definitely a bit much. Even if it was in 2020 when it got signed, or 2021, that's a bit much personally for me. So I'm not surprised that they're kind of trying to double back on it. But I also don't like the fact that they signed them knowing that they were edgy and then got surprised when the edgy pass came and bit them in the ass. I don't like that personally. But anyway, let's move on from that one. Bear with me a second as I blow my nose again. We're back. Anyway, we're back. Let's move. Spoke about that way too long. Let's move on from that. Let's talk about some Brendan Schaub clips from before here I need to talk about. So I spoke about the BERT crash of being an alcoholic. Oh, have you seen this one? Brendan kind of looks like some type of person that doesn't look... Oh, sorry, let me rewind that again. Brendan Schaub in this clip seems like the kind of guy that secretly doesn't like their kids. And this maybe is a thing that happens with young parents. Again, I don't have kids, so I can't speak. So maybe there is this kind of weird frustration when you do have kids that they're kind of stealing your youth. They're stealing your time and shit, or wasting your time. Maybe there is a part of it like that. But I think this is a little bit weird and done in bad taste, especially considering your kids are going to grow up one day and see this type of content, and it's probably not going to make them feel the greatest about themselves. But there is something about this that kind of makes me feel a little bit away. But anyway, as part of content, we got to play what we got to play in it. So let's just do it.
What is up, fam? Monday morning, May 22nd. What is poppin'? Summer's coming up for the parents out there. Summer break.
Jesus Christ, Brendan Schaub, man. I know I struggle to speak sometimes, but his brain is legitimately malfunctioning. Like, bro, just spit it out. Take your time. It's your show. Again, I don't understand. No one's going to ever make me understand. And I know some people say the rationale is that I think he takes his kids to school in the morning or something. So on the way back home, he then quickly goes to the studio and bangs out the Schaub show. But clearly, this guy isn't a morning person. Clearly. Because the Schaub show is the only show he films, or they film, I think, quite early in the morning. Because he is at his worst. And I think this is the one show where he needs to be at his sharpest. Because it's like, you know, combat sports, mixed martial arts, UFC type of shit. There's stats involved, people's records. There's tape involved of other previous fights. So you have to be a little bit. This is the one show you got to be like on your game a little bit. And he's like malfunctioning all over the place. But anyway, let's continue. I'm just glad he's not drinking whiskey at 9 a.m. in the morning. Looks like he's drinking some coffee here. So that's a win.
Get your mind right, right? Get your mind right. All your single friends without kids are like, oh, we're going to Hawaii, we're going to Cancun. Parents are like, oh, there we go. Buckle up. It's game time. For parents out there, it's game time. You're entertaining those little rugrats 24/7 for a few months. We put them in summer camp, cop out, put them in summer camp. My dad used to put me at the YMCA. I was there from 7 to 7. What's up?
So, this shouldn't be an issue, and it's probably not that big of an issue, but it does seem like the guy hates his kids. And the weird thing about this is that I think this type of energy makes sense when your kids are like newly born. I don't know, they're all both under the age of like 3 or something, fair enough. And it kind of is out of the blue, and it's sort of like messed up your whole lifestyle and shit, fair enough. I understand that frustration. But now that you've had these kids for a while, I think one kid might be 10, one kid might be 5 or 6. I don't know. Let me just throw numbers out there. But should this still be a thing of like what? They're holding you back from doing what during the summers? Like, what do you do usually when you're at home? I don't know. This guy doesn't really have friends. He doesn't usually go out unless he's doing stand-up. He only really leaves his house to do podcasts. Like, what are they really keeping you from doing? Like, really? Like, I don't understand this. I find this so odd to talk about your kids like this on a pod. But again, these comedians are strange because I guess they have to kind of mine every part of their life in order to kind of make comedy, because they don't really live interesting lives outside of what they do in front of a camera, really. They don't really live a life. It's just spent recording pods, talking to other people on pods, doing stand-up, and that's it. They don't actually live a life. So that's probably the reason why they feel a need, some of them, to overshare and to complain about things on pods that you probably should be keeping to yourself. It's probably not something you should be, you know, telegraphing or telling people, thousands and millions of people out there, about how you feel with your kids when it's summertime and they're at home and that you kind of want them to kind of go away. It's a bit strange. Don't get me wrong. When I was a kid growing up, the last thing I wanted to do in the summer was be at home. And I think my parents at the time also didn't want us 3 boys in the house to be there fucking disturbing their peace. And we were lucky, they were lucky, I think, as parents, because all 3 of us are pretty independent, pretty outdoorsy kids. We all kind of wanted to be out and about with our friends and whatnot. But it's just different nowadays, isn't it? Kids have different entertainment. They're playing on, you know, video games and shit. Maybe a lot of their friends are online. They can speak to them through Instagram Live. It's not the same sort of thing, really. Like outside life and shit. It's a bit, you know, sad, whatever it may be, but it is what it is. And I guess in certain areas they live in, they might just be a lack of parks, a lack of safe places to go, too many kiddie fiddlers, and whatever it may be. So I understand the hesitation a lot of kids have of going out, parents letting kids go out and whatnot. But I just think at a certain point when you have kids and you're talking about them in that way, it doesn't look the greatest. But again, I could be making a mountain out of a molehill. Really could be making a mountain out of a molehill. But we digress and we continue. This next clip features Brendan Schaub making the Conor McGregor documentary all about him. And I think this clip is fucking incredible because this is the perfect encapsulation of why people hate Brendan. And also I feel like it's a little bit of an example of why I think people sometimes go a bit overboard. Because I don't think this is a bad thing to do or say, because that Conor McGregor documentary is pretty decent. And for somebody like a Brendan, considering how far his star has fallen, it probably was a big surprise and an honor for him to be featured in that pod. It's on Netflix. It's definitely, a big, a popular one people are watching. I think it's going to release in parts. It's really entertaining, especially if you're a fan of Conor. Obviously, if you're not the biggest fan of him, it's probably not the best representation of his career. Doesn't really feature any of the faux pas, any of the hitting of the old guy, the sexual assault allegation and shit. It's kind of a really kind of positive spin on Conor's career. But still, it features a lot of the bits behind the scenes that you've probably never seen of him losing, how he reacts to it in the fucking locker room and stuff. All that sort of footage we never would have seen if this documentary never came out. Is really cool to see. And again, considering how low regarded Brendan is in the terms of MMA punditry and journalism and being a talking head, the fact that he was featured on that in the documentary, like in full HD, is something to kind of pat yourself on the back about. The biggest star to come out of the UFC featuring you in there, only because Brendan Schaub was the only person in media that was actually trying to convince people that Conor McGregor could win against Floyd, which he kind of caught me with the gas. Like, Brendan was that convincing that time, so deluded that he was starting to convince me that Conor could beat Floyd Mayweather in a straight up boxing match, which is fucking stupid to think about it at the time. And clearly the results kind of paint that to be that. So I don't, I see both sides of this clip. But anyway, let me play it and stop blabbering so you can see what I mean.
We can jump into, if you want. I'll start with, I finally got around to the Conor McGregor documentary. Finally got around. I think it came out last week. I'm just saying, I wasn't like ready at the minute it dropped to watch it like I'm a serial killer doc. But either way, I got around to it. Man.
Weird disclaimer though, isn't it? You watch everything else immediately when it comes out, and you're a known Conor McGregor nut hugger. Why would you put out that disclaimer? It's not a bad thing to just say, yeah, I watched it as soon as it come out. You guys all know I'm a huge Conor McGregor nut hugger. He's the biggest star to come out of the UFC. I'm unapologetically going to be a fanboy of his forever because he changed the sport, blah, blah, blah. Just own up to it. It's not a bad thing to be a fanboy of one of the biggest stars in the fucking sport. I don't understand. Like, we all know you are. So why are you putting out the disclaimer that I was so busy, I only got around to it now? It's like, come on, bruh. Just be honest.
And despite how you feel about Conor McGregor, it is so well done. It is so damn good. And I tweeted this out after I watched it. It's ridiculous, but I had a sense of sadness because that was such a great time. It was such a unique time in mixed martial arts that I'm sad because I don't think we'll ever see it again. Now,
doesn't that "I'm sad" sound similar? Sound familiar? Sorry. Do you remember? I'm mad. I'm sad. I'm fucking mad. That sounds very familiar, isn't it? That little "I'm sad" thing. But yeah, let him continue.
Now, I know people, and Dana says this, and everybody says this. Oh, when Magic and Bird retired, it's like, oh, what's the NBA going to do now? Or, when Barry Sanders retired, what's the NFL going to do now? And the UFC, it's when Chuck Liddell retires, what is the UFC going to do now? I get that. This is different. Will the UFC have more generational talent, and are they going to have superstars? Of course. No doubt. There's going to be talent that we can't even imagine coming up in the next 10, 15 years. No doubt. And will they be more skilled than Conor? Yeah, because that's the evolution of the game. No doubt. I'm not saying that we're not going to have superstars in the UFC. What I'm saying is you're never going to have another Conor McGregor, and that makes me sad. You're just not. I think he changed the game forever, and you only get those once in a lifetime. And I think why it holds dear to my heart too is when he was coming up,
You see?
I just branched out on my own, right?
So this is the real reason why it makes him sad. Because it's a weird thing to kind of make a point of. Like, it makes him sad there's not going to be another Conor McGregor. I thought he was going to say it makes him sad because it's never going to be like that moment again. There's obviously going to be another star that's going to be as big as Conor. It's just the way sports works. But especially stuff like a UFC. But he made it more so it's never going to be another Conor, which basically means more so he's never going to have that same period in his life when he was that guy back then, where he was really pally with Joe Rogan and everything was going amazing on TFATK, and Chris Lee hadn't been cancelled and Bryan Callen hadn't been accused of rape, when everything was fucking rosy. That's when it's not going to go back to. That's the issue he has, because he's still successful by this definition, but that golden era when he was in part of the Rat Pack, that's never going to come back again. That's what he basically is trying to say.
Started with fighting the kid, and then I wanted to talk fighting specifically because, you know, Bryan Callen knows fighting, loves fighting, but, you know, sometimes he doesn't watch it and he's not in the weeds like I am, so I want to do my own thing. So that's when I started the Big Brown Breakdown. That just so happens when I started, Conor's rise started. So it's close to my heart because to me that was such a special time. And to
comparing yourself to Conor McGregor is fucking hilarious. But look, I just, you know, I got to let him land, and I think it's fine because he should look back on that time with fondness, because that was a great moment in time to look back on his career, the fact that he was working for Showtime, he was able to get the, I think if I'm not mistaken, Brendan did create the kind of UFC MMA division there by default because he had the Schaub show, even though it started like a bit of a sketch show type of thing and serious show with this blazer, because the early episodes of the Schaub show are funny, where he's kind of wearing a blazer and they're trying to get him to read a teleprompter. He just cannot read to save his life, right? But he basically started in that way, and it kind of solidified his position there as a color, no, as a talking head and whatnot, and that was great. And the times they were awesome with Rogan and the old studio in LA and the Comedy Store, and driving up to the Comedy Store garage like he always says in his Porsche and his Ferrari, talking with all the other comedians, right? I don't blame him for looking fondly on it. It's just hilarious to see him like in this part of his career where he's already looking back at those heady years and thinking, fuck, man, I took it for granted. He's starting to realize, even though he's successful still now, he's like, I did take that shit for granted back then. Like, life isn't as sweet as it is now. Life isn't sweet now as it was back then. But hey, what can you do?
Cover it, right? And to go through that, and for a guy of Conor McGregor's stature to say the things that he did and pull it off, it's just so rare. Because now, you know, you have guys that are mimicking Conor and saying all these things, and they're not fulfilling that, right? They're doing it because they think it's what they need to do to sell the fight. Conor was the guy doing it because that's what he truly believed in his heart, and eventually we all believed it. It was very, you know, when Muhammad Ali would say these crazy things, you know, and it got all this traction, you never really saw that before. And he would guarantee this, and I'll beat him here. And it was very similar to Conor McGregor, though. It was a magical time. It was a magical time, straight up magical time.
Is he gonna cry? Is this nigga gonna cry about Conor McGregor when he's actually crying about his career? Because I think what he's actually saying, the death of Conor McGregor's career was the death of actually his career. Oddly enough. Actually, there might be some correlation. If you're a fucking homeless cat out there, there might be some correlation between Conor losing to Khabib and Brendan's career going down the pan. Or maybe how it's, or no, not his career, his perception and how he's viewed amongst his peers. Because I still think the fact that he's able to make millions being redacted as he is, not being able to speak, not being able to put coherent thoughts together, creating subpar content is amazing. That should still be a success to him, because I feel like the fact that you're not working in Target or in a bar somewhere and you get to make content like this and make millions should always be something that you should always be thanking the fucking Lord up above. Like, I don't have to work and clock in every day like I have to do regular jobs. I'm sure that most of you have to do. That should always be like a thank God, right? Most of these guys, especially the ones that get accused of like rape and diddling kids, you should always be like looking up at the stars saying, oh my God, thank you so much for allowing me the ability to be able to just talk in front of a microphone and spread my nonsense opinions and be completely unfunny and still make loads of money. It's amazing. Thank you, Lord. That's what you should be successful about. But I'm sure these guys, they all want more. They want everything. They want the good times to last forever. They don't ever see it ever ending. And they take it for granted. So it wouldn't surprise me if there is some correlation between Conor losing that fight to Khabib and Brendan's, you know, way he's perceived amongst his peers, especially amongst Rogan, going down the pan. I'm sure some homeless cats can make some correlations, some graphs and figure it out, but I'm sure there's something in there. Again, it could be one of my terrible hot takes, but I'm sure I'm right.
I mean, when I was watching that documentary and it was going back over the stuff, I was like, oh.
Hold on, what did he say? How do you say documentary there? Let's rewind that. What did he say?
And it was going back over this magical time. I mean, when I was watching that documentary it was going back over.
I thought he said something else. I thought he said documentary. I said dog. Okay, cool.
When I was watching that documentary and it was going back over the stuff, I was like, oh my, I mean, some of it, you know, because I'm covering this all the time in the fight world, some are like, oh, what a special time, man. Like when they showed just the weigh-ins for a Conor fight and you see Dublin flying across the goddamn pond and it's packed with fans from Dublin, or a press conference and the stuff you do at the press conference. It was not, we don't have, this is no disrespect to anybody in the UFC right now.
No, you're disrespecting everybody, by the way.
Do not have that right now. Where it's everybody shuts down and tunes in to what one fighter's doing. We don't have that.
This is basically his justification for not doing his research or watching tape or getting familiar with fight cards. This is basically his justification in a way. Because there's not a big star like Conor, no card is a real big draw. No one is really moving seats or really kind of selling pay-per-views and shit. So what's the point? I'll just kind of figure out when I get news from Chin. What else you got, Chin? What else you got, Chin? What else you got, Chin? All the way through the fucking UFC fucking fight cards and news and shit. That's his kind of justification for it a little bit. But again, I don't blame the guy for reminiscing on good times because, let's be honest, there were some special times when TFATK was on fire, when no one knew Bryan Callen may or may not be a rapist, when Crystalia hadn't been accused of diddling kids. That show was fucking on fire. Let's not lie. Let's not fucking lie. And it's no surprise that his career also was doing great. Going to the Comedy Store, even though he wasn't passed, selling out shows all over the place, merch flying out of the door. It was a good time. So I'm not surprised that he's looking back on it with some level of fondness. So I can't begrudge the guy for looking back at his heady days with that level of fondness. It makes a lot of sense. Another clip here from Brendan Schaub where he speaks about Joe Rogan being short as shit. I know I'm late. I understand it. Please forgive me. I know there's a huge contingency of people out there that hate when I cover stuff super late, depending on when it came out. I understand that. I don't really get it personally. Like I said before in the other stream, when I like somebody and I enjoy what they say about certain topics, I don't care when they speak about it really. Obviously, it would be beneficial if they spoke about it when it came out, but I just want to hear their opinion on it regardless. So don't hit me and don't abuse me, okay? In the comments when I clip this later. Just enjoy my commentary of what I have to say in this. I know I'm like a month late, but it is what it is, okay? We are where we are, so please give me grace. I beg of you. I beg of thee. Give me grace. I beg of thee.
So I'm sure you've heard about this at least by now. Tyson Fury talking smack about Joe Rogan. Because he said, Joe Rogan mentioned like if Tyson Fury and John Jones were in a room, John Jones is the one that's going to be walking out, right? If it was like an actual fight, not just a boxing match.
Yeah, it was like a street fight.
Yeah, so I'll just play with.
Here's my thing. I saw this, and we can play it, especially for the fans. How are you going to be bald making fun of another bald guy?
I was just telling Casey that.
You know what I'm saying? If you had if you had a full set of hair like this, like you bald bitch, then it's like, yeah, get him. When you're bald, making fun of another bald guy, it doesn't work.
I know. It was
Fury.
weird.
And Fury's my favorite combat athlete in the sport.
Yes, you've said it many times.
Him and Conor.
Yeah.
Conor UFC, Tyson Fury
Boxing.
boxing.
Any coincidence that Brendan Schaub's two favorite people in combat sports, boxing and UFC, are both white guys? Where are the blacks, eh? You're not a fan of any of the blacks? Not a fan of any of the Russians?
By far, Fury's my fucking favorite. Don't go for Rogan.
All right, I'll play it real quick.
I'm the baddest man on the planet. I heard Joe Rogan say something about me the other day, and I've been off all the social media, so I didn't reply to that little pussy. Little fucking midget, bald-headed midget. I heard him say that John Jones could fuck me up if we went in the room together. I don't think so. Not a man born from mother can fuck me up in a room on our own. Whatever happens in that room, I'd be walking out. Not a fucking problem.
Whatever happens in that room, I'll be walking out, cock swinging, covered in fucking jizz. I'm not getting fucked, I'm doing the fucking. Whatever happens in that room, my dick's getting sucked.
I mean, I mean, Rogan's right as far as, you know,
I mean,
when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. But, you know, it's not like an Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder situation where they're just straight boxers. Like, remember, Fury's a gypsy. You know, he's going to have to answer for that wrestling and jiu-jitsu, which is a complete disaster. Rogan's right, but you got to give Fury a little credit. You know, to me, he's the greatest of all time. Greatest heavyweight of all time. If you want to have that debate, come on the show. I will destroy you. Who's your guy? Bring it on. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, again, Real Housewives of the UFC. All this is like that drama. Okay. It's just weird. How are you going to be bald? Call another guy, make fun of a guy.
That was the only odd part, but yeah.
You make fun of his height because Tyson Fury is whatever, 6'8". That's fine. Rogan's short as shit. That's fine.
Excuse me? Let's run that back one minute again. Excuse me? What do you say about Joe Rogan?
Okay. It's just weird. How are you going to be bald? Call another guy, make fun of a guy.
That was the only odd part, but yeah.
You make fun of his height because Tyson Fury is whatever, 6'8". That's fine. Rogan's short as shit. That's fine.
Rogan's short as shit. That's fine. This is the clearest indication, if anybody was in any kind of doubt, that Brendan Schaub and Joe Rogan's relationship isn't what it once was. I'm never going to be the guy that's going to sit here and say that I think they're not friends anymore. I think that whole narrative that the guys on the Fire and the Kids subreddit are running with, that Rogan doesn't like Brendan, is nonsense. I think we've seen with Rogan, he's kind of like loyal and will still stand by people that do far worse things than what Brendan has alleged to have done, or just being a douche in general. So I don't think Joe is like some sort of like principled moral guy where he'd be like, oh yeah, you did this, you did that, so I'm not going to be friends with you. That's not the case. And I honestly do think that Joe just only really recently realized how much of a douchebag Brendan is, or maybe more so, my conclusion has always been that Joe kind of got put off by the whole Bobby Lee shit. When the whole Bobby Lee and Kalila shit went down, when Kalila basically revealed, without saying Brendan's name, that Brendan was in her DMs trying to fuck, even though she was in a relationship with Bobby Lee, and even though he was fucking married with kids at the time, and he still is. And obviously it transpired that all that drama, that Brendan and Bryan were putting the pressure on Bobby Lee to shut his fucking girl up at the time and get her in line, or something was a line that they said, and they were using Joe Rogan's name as a threat to get him in line and to get him under manners and to check what he's saying. I think that was the first time, and I wouldn't be surprised. I think Joe Rogan's head's buried in the sand, and also he's fucking rich. So when you're rich and you're influential like that, people just don't want to bring certain stuff around you and don't want to let you know about certain things because they don't want to be the person to let you know that shit. So they just kind of pretend it's not happening and kind of just be good vibes to you around. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was the first time Joe Rogan actually found out, because if I'm not mistaken, clips went viral, people were talking about shit, and Joe actually reached out to Bobby Lee and spoke to him directly and said, hey, by the way, I didn't say none of this shit. I didn't tell them to use my name. I didn't even know this was going on. I found out about these clips, and I'm disgusted. I already told Brendan to stop using my name, and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure that that's the first time Joe found out about it. But I also don't think that's reason enough for him to cut Brendan Schaub off. But I'm definitely sure, based on the little things Brendan keeps saying about Joe, that they're not as cool as they was. Because beforehand, Brendan would be sucking fucking Joe off two-handed, giving him the Gluck 10,000, loving him, would fall over himself to mention how many times he's spoken to Joe. I'm texting him. Joe said this, Joe said that, Rogan this, Rogan that, Rogan this, Rogan that. But he's kind of chilled. If you kept an eye, and again, you don't need to watch the full show, because no one is, apart from me, that makes clips and shit. But if you're just checking clips that people upload on the Friday Kid subreddit, you would have realized there's been a real lack, a decrease. If probably somebody could put it up on a graph, there's definitely been a decrease in the amount of times that Brendan Schaub name drops Joe Rogan in a conversation, just without any kind of encouragement or whatever. You just drop his name there. He has kind of waned off a little bit, and it's not like, you know, that prone to kind of keep mentioning his name all the time. He just kind of lets it be, and he throws in a couple of quips as he did there. Joe Rogan's short as shit. 2016, Brendan Schaub. 2020, Brendan Schaub would have never said that about Joe Rogan. He's short as shit. He would have been like, if someone said that in the room, he would have been like, not Joe. You can't say that. You can't say that. He's actually taller in real life. Like, you know what I mean? He'd be making up all sorts of excuses. So this is a perfect example for anybody who was doubting that their relationship isn't what it once was. Clear as day. Now, just to be the other side of the thing and give a little bit of context to it, I think that's also unfortunate. I think Joe should have more people in his circle and comedic peers and whatnot, colleagues, podcast colleagues, scene guys who should be able to take the piss out of how short he is, because he is hilariously short, especially given how he kind of acts and how he speaks and shit. When you actually see him next to people that you deem to be tall and he's way shorter than them, or people that are short and he's shorter than them, it makes you laugh a bit. Like, oh shit, Rogan's really short. And, you know, people generally look taller on content, on TV and shit, and he's already looked short. So imagine how short he actually must be in real life. It should be kind of funny as a comedian to take the piss out of that guy. Like, the most famous, richest guy in the industry, the most important dude in the industry is super short and looks the way that he does. It should be something that he should be open to laughing about, but it's clearly a bit of an insecurity. Clearly something that kind of bugs him the wrong way or rubs him up the wrong way, which is why people don't do it, because they want to be in his good graces. But he should allow himself to kind of get taken a piss out for being short and looking the way he does. But he doesn't really, which is why he probably doesn't get jokes, and probably the podcast isn't as funny as it probably should be, blah, 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 blah. Who knows? But in general, conclusion, Brendan Schaub and Rogan aren't as close as they once were, in my opinion. Yes, big up Wolfgang, big up my guy Wolfgang, big up Josie Masters. Always makes me laugh when he's in the ring and his woman and they're eye level with everyone. Yeah, exactly. It's just, I've said this before. I don't know if you agree with me, Josie and other people in the chat. I've said it before again, one of my hot takes that no one asked for. But I've said we are lucky as a society that Rogan isn't 6 foot plus. As members of social media, as members of the internet and content consumers, far and wide, we are lucky that Joe Rogan isn't 6'6". If he's already unbearable to some of you guys, being 5'4" and looking the way he does, imagine if Joe Rogan was 6'6" with like BGL hair on his head. Imagine if he went grey, it doesn't matter, but imagine if he was able to grow hair like that for real and he was 6'6". Imagine Joe Rogan like that. He'd be on another level. And imagine if he was 6'6" and with BGO hair and he served in the army. He was a former fucking Marine, a former Navy SEAL, a former soldier, maybe worked in whatever, Special Forces, Secret Service, whatever. Imagine if that's the case. If he was a firefighter or something, Joe Rogan would be unbearable. Unbearable, man. Unbearable. But, it is what it is. The Lord above did us a favor and didn't make him 6'6", and it kind of kept him somewhat humble, I think. That's my hot take on that one. Anyway, moving on from that, we have this clip courtesy of Mark Norman's podcast with Joe List called Tuesdays with Stories. I used to watch or listen to Tuesdays with Stories quite often, but then I kind of got bored and I think I stopped listening to it because I felt like they were just whining about shit. Mark Norman essentially playing up the fact that he's like a ditzy guy. I forget this, I forget that, I have to pay for that to get there. Oh my God, this show there, I booked too many shows. Whoopsie, I don't have a planner. Whoopsie, don't have an assistant. And Joe List, I don't know, nihilism, I don't know, hypochondriac thing kind of got annoying. I don't know. After a while, just lost this magic, and it's annoying because I felt like Tuesdays with Stories kind of replaced what's the other show I used to watch? I forgot the fucking name of it. But anyway, it kind of filled that void for me for a stand-up comedy podcast that was just funny. Nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with culture war stuff. Just two guys sitting down trying to make each other laugh. Like Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, which I've been fucking binging and listening to all the time now. But for some reason, it's kind of lost this sort of va-va-voom. But I guess it must just be one of those things. These podcasts basically run their course after a while, especially if the guys end up becoming successful. Because for a period in time, Mark Norman was really successful, was way more successful than Joe List. And now I feel like they kind of reached some level of parity because Joe List has kind of been able to direct movies, and you know his stand-up career is pretty decent. He's got a good special out, so they're kind of on the same sort of level. But I feel like sometimes when they're on like opposing levels, like it's kind of nice, that friction of them taking the piss out of each other and stuff and whatever and hanging out. I don't know, I kind of like that. What people saying in the chat, yeah, big up Wolfgang Richter. Appreciate you, brother. Josie's saying that's a great point. You know, for that, Josie Martin saying I can't stand Joe List. Is it really? I would imagine people would not like Mark Norman more out of Joe List. I don't see what Joe List, why he would annoy people. He seems kind of whatever. If anything, like I said, the hypochondriac stuff is a bit odd. He clearly has a lot of like he clearly has a lot of like insecurities and shit. I don't know why, but you can just tell somebody's kind of fidgety and not too sure about themselves. He comes across like he's got a lot of anxiety and shit just through listening to him. It's one of the only podcasts I don't watch. I just listen to the audio and it kind of bleeds through. But the chronic forgetting of things and being a disaster before going to an airport stories, I think they give me extra anxiety for actually Mark Norman's stories of how he kind of cuts it to the line with airports and stuff and checking in and booking gigs and stuff. It gives me anxiety because I'm that loser that goes to an airport 5 hours ahead of time. Do you know what I mean? I don't take no chances. I want to go there and chill. I'll get a drink. I'll chill out. I'll watch some series on there before my flight comes. I don't take any chances. So when I hear people that leave their house with only an hour before their gate close or right on the line, it's just like, no mass. I don't want to do nothing. Anyway, let's play the clip anyway. Mark Norman makes a good point about podcast merch, which I never really thought about. But he makes a really good point, I feel like, in this clip.
We do the show, we have our good time, we sell some merch. Then you got that weird thing where Jason's like, here's all the merch you have left, giant pile of queef shirts. Yeah. And he goes, you want me to ship it or you want to just take it? And I was like, what are you going to do? And I was thinking, ship it. But he's like, hey, might as well just take it. And I felt so bad. He did so much work and helped us out so much. And I was like, all right. And I just went upstairs and threw it in the garbage.
Yeah, this is what's hard with the merch. I said it. This is my pitch, by the way, on stage. I'm so bad at pitching. I'm like, could you guys buy shirts? Because every week I leave a club being like, okay, take care, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's a carry-on.
Merch is tricky, too, because you're like, Matt Wayne, my dear friend, your friend, opener, he opens, and then he's like, I'll help you with the merch. And then people, I feel terrible because they just lose sight that this is a human being and a comedian.
Yes.
So then they start walking. They see the previous person. They start walking up. They hand their phone, and they just go to take a photo. So now he's just the photo guy. But some clubs give you a photo guy.
Always happens that way.
And so then by the end of the weekend, I'm like, here's $9,000, Matt. I took a loss because I feel terrible that he's taking photos.
Right. I know. I'm tipping everybody out. I tip the photo lady, and then Jason's like, do you know her? I'm like, I don't know her. He's like, I don't know her either. So,
oh jeez, she might have just been a lady.
While Brendan Schaub is charging for fucking meet and greets, these guys are taking pictures for free and then paying their openers money for being the quasi selfie camera or smartphone operator for people to take pictures of with their fans. The contrast is funny, but the point that Mark Norman made at the start of the clip is interesting, where he will go to do a gig. He'll bring loads of comedy shirts with him, which I think is great, right? That line, comedy, right? I fucking love that. And have that on a shirt or a hoodie and shit or a hat, whatever he's got in terms of merch. And, you know, you'd imagine shirts like that with that phrase, you know, white text on a black t-shirt for $20, $30. You'd imagine people would be fighting hand over fist to kind of go get one, especially after the show, after watching you play, especially in a comedy club. Especially if it's like in a dive bar or something, or just whatever comedy clubs are just basically de facto bars. You're probably going to have some cash in your pocket. I'm surprised. Maybe this is a thing most of you guys can tell me in the chat. I'm surprised more comedy fans aren't willing to like buy merch like that, cash in hand. Is that a thing? Do you go to comedy clubs and just want to see the person perform and then go home? Or just drink? Or no, actually, that's the thing. Would you rather go to a comedy club, watch somebody perform, and whatever money you have in your pocket actually use to buy more drinks or to buy more food, but you don't want to go and buy merch kind of thing? Because if it's me, I would rather buy comedian merch at a comedy club while they're playing, after they're playing, as opposed to buying it off their site. Because these guys are fucking redacts. They're fucking lazy. There's no guarantee you're going to get that shipped anytime soon. So to guarantee that I have it in my hand, I'd rather go to a club, watch them perform, buy the ticket, and also bring an extra $20, $30, $50 and buy the t-shirt or hoodie or whatever I want to get. I'm legitimately surprised that more people don't buy merch from comedians after shows. Clearly what Mark Norman said is true, because he said he basically just gets loads of merch left over after the show and he can't bother to lug it all the way back with him home because he's probably bought loads of stuff when he's out there and whatnot and just bins it all. Fuck it. I'll take the loss. I'll take the L. I'm surprised more people don't do that. Maybe I'm the one that's a bit redacted and I will. Maybe there's people anyway that just don't buy merch overall. Because I'm a weirdo. Because I'm a fan of things. So if I like things, I'll just buy merch for it. Whether it's bands, rappers, artists, podcasts and shit, I'll just buy whatever just so I can signal to people, hey, I listen to this thing. But I think some people just don't buy any merch. Like they think that's ridiculous, it's corny, it's lame. I don't know. What's your views here in the chat? Uja says, I always buy merch if the comic is selling it. A lot of them don't have merch for some reason. Yeah, true, exactly. Gabriel says, I like merch for mementos. Yeah, true. Okay, some of you don't even wear the merch. I guess some people like wearing it for bed. Some people just having it in the cupboard just to say, yeah, I went to that show. It's like it's a way of like, it's a kind of another version of like buying a physical ticket. Having that as being that. Crash 984 says, comedian merch is awful. True, fair enough. Another person says, yeah, yes, I want a t-shirt with a comedy written on it. Snack pack extravaganza said it's lame. So it kind of varies in my chat in terms of people, what they think regarding podcast merch. But I'd love to know what you think as well in the comments, what you think below in terms of podcast merch. Do you buy it? Do you care? Wouldn't you prefer to buy podcast merch if you do care after the show as opposed to buying off their site? Or would you prefer just to keep the money so you can buy more booze and get a couple more 8 balls? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. Hey, hey. Moving on from that one, I think, okay, it's cool. That's it for that update. So I think I've done most of the last week's stuff, innit? I think so. I can't think of anything more I haven't basically covered just yet. Maybe there is some other stuff I haven't covered. Let me see here. Oh yeah, some new stuff. That's some new stuff. So we got to talk about this stuff. This is fucking interesting, right? Oh no!
You guys know how
no! It's yeah. Have you guys seen this clip? Big up the guy, the Friday kid that uploaded this. Honestly, Brendan's the fucking best. I swear to God, this clip is from a few years ago. But number one, look how fucking amazing the guy looks. Again, Brendan is the classic example, I think, for everybody. A cautionary tale, not to indulge too much. Have your vices, have your things that you like to do when you like to get naughty, have some adult time and whatnot, blah, 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 blah. But life is about balance. You always have to have some level of balance. And I'm trying to do that with my own life. So don't, come after me too much with your pickaxes and shit. Pitchforks, sorry, and your axes. But in general, that was a very Brendan Shaw thing to say, innit? Pickaxes. That is actually a thing. It's a pickaxe. What am I talking about? Anyway, it doesn't matter. In this clip, Brendan looks fucking amazing. He sounds way more coherent, but the point he's making is incredibly, incredibly redacted.
You guys know how, maybe you guys were like this in class or in school growing up. When I see a word, it can be challenging for me. If I hear it, I'm good. If I hear the correct pronouncement of the
you have to stop it there. When I read a word, it's trouble. When I hear it, it's okay. So basically, he's admitting he can't read. Essentially, this is like Floyd Mayweather shit. When 50 Cent said, "I dare you to read like one page from Cat in the Hat," right? And I think he said, if you can read a whole Harry Potter book, I'll give you like $1 million. I don't know, something like that. 50 Cent said when he was warring with Floyd Mayweather. He said, I dare you to read Cat in a Hat on Instagram Live, 1 page. Which is fucking hilarious because Floyd Mayweather is fucking incredibly rich, one of the most successful boxers of all time, one of the greatest of all time, undefeated record, bloody blah, blah, blah. He comes across fairly eloquent in interviews, and he allegedly, according to what people say, he can't read. That's fucking wild. And Brendan's basically admitting the same thing. And again, this is a bad indictment on the US educational system because this man has 2 degrees. I know it's to do with sports and shit, I get it, but still, the fact that this guy has 2 degrees, not 1, not 2, not uno, not 1, not 2, even I don't have 2 degrees, not 1 degree, but 2 degrees, is fucking wild, and he can't fucking pronounce words. Yeah. Let's go back again, sorry, this is too much, Kip, it's too much.
You guys know how maybe you guys were like this in class or in school growing up. When I see a word, it can be challenging for me. If I hear it, I'm good. If I hear the correct pronouncement of the song,
he nearly had it at the first time, and he just didn't back himself. He got scared. He had it at the first time when he started. He had it. He started, but he had it.
If I hear the correct pronouncement of the song. Or a song or a word, then I'm good. But if I just read it, it's like, Jesus Christ. Especially if it's foreign.
Yep.
Oh, really? Oh, really, dude? You only struggle with foreign words. Oh, really? So, is pronunciation a foreign word? Is fucking pronunciation a foreign word? For him, is pronunciation fucking French? Pronunciation. Like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? I only struggle with foreign words, brother. You couldn't say pronunciation just a couple words ago.
Names are hard. Names are tough.
Yeah, names are tough.
Especially Russian names.
Say it one more time.
Yana Kunitskaya.
Yana Kuntsiyaya.
Now I get why he doesn't bother trying to learn Spanish. Chin says Yanis Kunisaya, and he says Kuniskaya. Where does the yaya bit come from? Chin just said it. Just repeat what he said.
One more time.
Yana Kunitskaya.
Yana Kuntsiyaya.
Yana Kunitskaya.
Yana Kuntsiyaya.
Yana Kunitskaya.
Yana Kuntsiyaya. He just adds shit to stuff. Like, that's the thing. He just adds syllables, adds vowels, like, just adds stuff. Like, where did the yaya come from? Chin says Kunitskaya. Where did the yaya come from?
Russian names.
Say it one more time.
Yana Kunitskaya.
Yana Kuntsiyaya.
Yana Kuntsiyaya. Oh, he probably had Floyd Mayweather's daughter in his head, innit? Yaya Mayweather. At that time, it's a bit suspect because she might have been underage, but bloody hell, mate. This guy's a multi-millionaire. This is why I say life isn't fair. And also, this is another reason why I say BERT KREISCHER will end up outliving all his comedic peers. Because Brendan Schaub is a multi-millionaire. Yeah, I didn't say that right, did I? Is a multi-millionaire, yet he can't pronounce words, can't read, maybe can't write, and struggles with the English language, especially English being his first language. So, if that's the case, and he's become successful, in spite of all these, difficulties, whatever he has, it leads me to believe that BERT KREISCHER, despite being a functioning alcoholic, will not succumb to any kind of liver failure, all that. No, it's not happening. He's going to die of natural causes, and he will end up outliving all his comedic peers. I swear on it. And I'm going to die on that hill. Because life isn't fair. As you can see here. Oh, man. Goodness, Yaya. Fucking legend. I fucking love it. Goodness, Yaya. Anyway, moving on from that one. Let's talk about this. So, this is hot news. Hot news off of the press concerning the people over there on the lovely Fighting the Kids subreddit. So, they've come to the conclusion, some people, that this Brendan Schaub European tour that he's meant to be on, that I fucking bought tickets to, I'm not lying. I actually bought tickets to this Brendan Schaub guy's UK tour, and it looks like some guys on the Frighten the Kids subreddit have surmised that it's off. They're saying that some of the shows may be cancelled, specifically the London show, and it's fucking driving me insane because I spent fucking £30 to watch this giant redact on stage because I wanted to be that. I didn't want to be that guy because I think somebody told me on my Discord, it may have been Amy, maybe somebody else, maybe Ucha, I'm not too sure who it was, but somebody said something like, oh, you can't talk shit unless you actually watch the stuff. Then you can talk shit. Because I think I was consuming a lot of clips and stuff and taking stuff out of context, but you have to actually watch things in order to be able to dissect it properly. And I think when I think about the people doing it at the highest levels, right, the Red Bars out of this world, again, you cannot like Red Bar, but in terms of really dissecting these comedian guys and really kind of giving some interesting takes and stuff and be able to pull some interesting things and see things to what they are, he does it really well, but he also consumes a lot of these guys' content. He actually is reading it, right? So, with that being said, I decided to do something that I probably would have never done and bought a ticket to these guys' show, especially when you consider that he's probably one of the people in the comedy circles that overcharges for his tickets because he's not a £30 guy at all. He's definitely a £20 guy, right? But he's definitely not £30. £30 should be getting you like the higher ups, the Anthony Jeselniks and all those type of dudes should be charging 30, and maybe if you're more famous, 50 and above. If you're Rogan doing arenas and Chappelle, I understand 100. Obviously, it's not to do with their comedy, whether it's figures funny, but some level of celebrity, level of fame, notoriety, blah blah blah, years in the game makes sense. But Brendan has no business charging 30 quid for a ticket. I don't think so, personally. My opinion. I don't think he's worth £30, but I did it anyway. Cool. Now people are saying on the fucking Frighten the Kids sub that this show in London that I fucking bought tickets to on June 22nd might be off. And there's been a lot of talk about it on the Frighten the Kids sub. And I have to give those guys credit. And I've been fighting against it. But it's been a constant story happening over the last couple of days and weeks and whatnot. And this one screenshot I'm showing you for somebody posted on the Frighten the Kids subreddit shows the title's following: 3 weeks out and around 400 tickets sold for a 2,500 seater venue. Sellout by my account. Glasgow is about to be thick. So the show that's been meant to be happening in Glasgow in the 2,500 seater venue has only sold 400 tickets. And if you're checking this map yourself for the seating plan, what you will see here is that the seats in grey are the ones that have been sold. So the seats in blue are the ones that are unsold. But I've also heard from people, which is sad in this regard, that a lot of these big comedians, famous guys, have scalpers, or there's a big scalping scene, and what they'll do is that they'll sometimes buy seats in blocks and then sell them, try and resell them to make some money. So the ticket sales could be worse because these could be a large portion of these tickets could have been bought by one or two people who bought blocks of tickets hoping to resell them because this is Brendan Schaub, he's a Joe Rogan alumni guy, blah, 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 blah. So this maybe isn't an accurate representation on the people that actually are buying the tickets and if it's really going to be full in there. But optics-wise, just imagine how fucking discouraging it's going to be for Brendan to jump on a flight 10 plus or so hours over here to Northern Ireland, or not over here, but to go to Northern Ireland, to go to Republic of Ireland, come down to Glasgow in Scotland, then come down to fucking UK, come down here to fucking London, and be standing on stage in front of 400 people, or maybe 250 actual people that are going to be there, and loads of empty seats from the tickets that the resellers weren't able to sell. So I can understand why a lot of people in the TFATK sub are saying he's going to cancel, because he does this all the time. Anytime a show doesn't sell, instead of being a professional and just turning up and putting on a good show for those people that did buy the ticket and made the time out of their day, put kids in fucking childcare, made plans with housemates and whatever partners to go somewhere, blah, 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 excuse their permission slips, use up one of their adult permission slips to go out and get fucked up and have a laugh and shit. He won't even do the professional thing and turn up to a show and put on a good show. He'll cancel. And he does it all the time. Now, I'm not going to get on him for that because I think all comedians do that. They all have a weird thing about needing to sell out shows. And if you don't sell out, then you don't bother turning up, which is bizarre. I feel like the whole part of being a performer, entertainer is that sometimes you're going to have fucked up shows. You're going to have shows that no one turns up to. I know I've had that plenty of times in my career, quote unquote, as a DJ. You put on a party, you put on an event, maybe one day, no one turns up apart from your actual friends, like 10 people. Then one day, 20 people turn up. Then another day, 50, then 100. But you perform for 10 like you would do for a crowd of 1,000. That's what you do. You always perform like that and kind of be the pro and do the show. But Brendan is known to cancel for less. So the fact that 400 tickets are sold is not a good omen. Is not a good omen in the slightest, and I'm feeling nervous because legitimately I paid £30, sorry, for tickets to fucking go to his show, and it's looking bad. And to make matters fucking worse, right? In this whole other issue, to make matters fucking worse, we got this clip, this post for the Final Kiss subreddit, taken from somebody who is connected with a lot of these venues, especially the London venue here where Brendan's performing, the O2 Arena. This screenshot says as follows: cancelled Thursday 22nd of June. Hi all, unfortunately this show has been cancelled. So already we're getting heads up here from insiders on the ground level saying potentially Brendan Schaub's London show could have been cancelled. And I spent £30 on this shit. I'm probably going to get a refund. It's going to take ages to kind of come through. Ticketmaster shit. It's just £30 tied up for nothing that I could be spending on fucking beers and ketamine. But whatever. But fucking hell, man. This guy. And we needed confirmation on this. So the dude that did upload that screenshot added some clarification because people weren't believing what was going on. And it sounds legit. And I'm fucking annoyed. The guy says as follows. Edit. I'm seeing some confusion amongst us chefs in the kitchen. I'm a member of staff of the venue Bappa Dearest is supposed to be performing in. In the most loose sense of the word, this is a snippet from an email received by superiors informing myself and other members of staff that this event is no longer proceeding. Never did I attempt to imply that this email was from Braindab himself, announcing he's not moving forward with the event. What is this resignation letter with South on the top? This is my explanation for the graphic. If you're still questioning the validity of this, what are we doing here? This is directly from the water well. I've personally been mulling over this and wondering if Papa could be this dumb, but what's most likely to happen, if I'm guessing, is that he's going to announce that there's a scheduling conflict. And so he's rescheduling or perhaps relocating to smaller venues. Either way, Axe J. Yo. The funny thing about this, right? Yeah, exactly. Dark Web J. That's on you for paying to go see Brendan Schaub. But I couldn't not, Dark Web J. Give me a little bit of a bly in that regard. Let me off a little bit. I could not go. I had to go. I talk enough shit about the guy and laugh about him all the time on here, and I was a former fan. He's performing in London. The first time he's performed here in ages. I had to go. I had to at least buy a ticket. I had to at least make the effort to go. I can't not go. It was too good of an opportunity not to go. And I really actually legitimately wanted to see what he's like live, like in situ. I wanted to have a couple of, I was actually going to give him all the grace. I was going to go because that day I had off work for as well. And again, I scheduled it from work. I was going to go to a bar. I was going to have a couple of drinks. If I was feeling a little bit lucky, I would have had a couple of bumps. I would have pulled up to the event nice and early. I would have mingled with some people, or maybe I would have pulled up late after drinking myself silly in a bar, and I would have come ready to laugh. I would have been a bit tipsy, wearing my poo shiesty mask so no one recognized me, right? With my hair probably sticking out, people will probably see who I am. And I would have been there ready to LOL, ready to go, that back with that thing, they never, do all that fucking, histrionics. I would have been ready to do the histrionics. I was ready to fuck, but he wasn't ready. That's the thing. I was ready to fuck. He didn't bring a rubber. That's what actually happened here. I was ready to go. And now he's not following through. And the funny thing about this as well, this is all self-inflicted. Because Brendan Schaub has no business no business performing at the O2 Shepherd's Bush Empire. No business performing at the O2 Academy Glasgow. No business performing at the Ulster Hall Belfast. Let's actually check the capacity for that. Ulster Hall Belfast capacity. What's the capacity of that place? Come on, bruh. 2,200 in fucking Northern Ireland. How many fans does Brendan actually have? Okay, how many fans in fucking Northern Ireland does he actually have? Let's be real. Maybe Republic of Ireland, cool. Conor McGregor fandom, UFC people, cool, fair enough. But Northern Ireland, really? Come on. It's like performing in Wales. Who fucking knows him in Wales? Nobody. But if he is going to perform there, he should have been performing at venues, in my opinion, with a 500 cap. But the guy's ego is so crazy, he wanted a look of looking like he's performing at big venues, like he's a big star, as opposed to doing a tour and actually touching the fans and actually selling out decent sized venues and doing it that way. Because if he would have played at venues that were like 5,000 cap, maybe in London, push it up to like, 500 cap, push it up to like maybe 750 or 1,000. He would have probably sold a decent amount of tickets, or maybe limit the ticket run, the drops, and maybe take off the Belfast run, do Dublin, do Glasgow, and do London. That's it. Smack them out. London, Dublin, Glasgow, or even just take away Glasgow and just do Dublin and London. Obviously, you know about Conor, you know that whole vibe, you love fucking whiskey, all that sort of shit, tie that in there. That makes sense. He would have probably been able to set out a tour going to Dublin and London, but I guess maybe in terms of flights and accommodation and his, needs and wants and whatnot, maybe might not have made it make sense, but he has no business playing at venues with a 2,200 capacity, whatever, internationally. Because I would go as far as saying, I don't think Brendan could sell out any venue in America, in North America, that's 2,200. Even in his supposed number one market being Texas, I don't think he could sell out a venue 2,200. I don't think so. Not a chance. So the fact that he thinks he can sell out that type of venue internationally is incredibly delusional, arrogant, and just devoid of any kind of self-awareness. Incredibly. And I'm only ranting about this shit because I've been burned. I just realized I'm crying about this shit that everybody probably knew beforehand. The guys on the Friday Kids subreddit was saying this from day go. They were saying he's gonna cancel. I was like, no way he's gonna cancel this. This is an international gig. He can't just pull a scheduling conflict because it's been on the books for months. This is not just who's you gonna blame? Meghan Markle. Who's you gonna blame? Philip Schofield and the This Morning fucking drama. Who's he gonna fucking blame? Mizzy. He doesn't even like black people. You can't blame Mizzy. Who's he gonna fucking blame? Oh, it's the fucking Lukaku and Megan Thee Stallion news. It's the Damson Idris and Laurie Harvey at fucking Beyonce's concert thing that set me off. It's a Tion Wayne drama. Who's he gonna blame for cancelling these shows? He can't cancel them. That's what I was thinking. But it's looking like, courtesy of this fucking homeless cat that posted this screenshot a few days ago. And again, imagine we're in June now, 1st of June. We're somewhere away from the 22nd. Nothing's been said so far, and I think some other people have been doing some digging in on Brendan Schaub's Instagram, and he hasn't been pushing the fucking show, the tour, the supposed European tour, which is funny because none of the countries in Europe. But regardless, like the supposed European tour, he hasn't been pushing at all on these social media. And if you know one thing about Brendan, he loves fucking ticket sales. He loves fucking selling out places and shit, allegedly. So the fact that he's not pushing this tour in any way, shape, or form is maybe a sign that what this guy is saying is true. And I'm led to believe that it's true. I don't think he's just going to make this shit up. It sounds a little bit too delicious of a dish to be made up. Fuck, man. I'm out of 30 pounds. Damn this guy. But yeah, another sign opportunity why you should never buy tickets ahead of time. Just buy them from resale if you actually want to go on a day, because these comedians especially are always going to fucking flake on you. It's fucking crazy. I know Tim Dillon does it a lot. Tim Dillon does it all the time with his fans, especially in North America. You just wake up one day and not be in the mood and just cancel his shows because he knows he can sell out shows and rebook them. It's not a bother. So these guys cancel shows all the time, so it's mad. But the mad thing about it is this. So allegedly, it's looking like he might have bet on himself, according to this TFATK poster, and he may have hired the space himself. And if he did hire it himself, the higher price to hire London, the O2 London Arena, or the what is it venue? Sorry, what's it called? Shepherd's Bush Empire. Sorry, in London. The cost to hire the Shepherd's Bush Empire is 10. It starts from 10,000. It's not 10,000. It's from 10,000. So let's imagine he has some sort of tie-in with Ticketmaster or Live Nation. Maybe he can get it down to 5K. He still has to sell a fuck ton of tickets to break even. And that's across 4 dates or 5? 4 dates. Jesus Christ. What possessed... I honestly do think Brendan has got people in his corner who do tell him, hey, don't do this. And he just says, nah, I'm just going to do it. Because who in his friendship circle would have told him, yeah, it makes sense for you, a guy who can't sell out like casinos and like comedy clubs that are in like dive bars and shit in the middle of like parking lots. Like he can't sell out those type of comedy clubs, hole in the walls. Yet he wants to go on a tour to theaters overseas and sell more than 2,000 tickets. And again, I'm a former club promoter. I used to put on my own events. I know how hard it is. And again, I'm not even someone that's speaking from a point of like expertise. I only put on events in actual clubs. I didn't even go and do what other people do, where you just hire a space and you put in all your own equipment in terms of sound and shit. I would just hire out, actual clubs that existed with already equipment there and just use their space. And that was hard enough to have already customers that go to that space, put on your own party and have them pay money to come to your party is super hard. Let alone to be a comedian and have people turn up to like theaters and shit and go and see you perform and leave their home to see you do jokes on stage that they hear all the time on podcasts. Woo! Especially if you're not that funny. Woo! It's insane that he would do this. I don't know what possessed this man to believe that he could sell out a 2,000 plus capacity venue, and also what possessed him to pay a higher cost of 10,000 to whatever. Because I was thinking that there was some sort of like thing that they do with these venues tied in with CAA, where maybe they offer it to you to do a tour so that you can look like you're an international selling act and stuff when you're not really, so it's not really coming out of your pocket. It's like a free run. I don't know, but I have a feeling that he paid out of pocket for this, from his own pocket for this, like something, and he's trying to recoup the cost on the back end with ticket sales and shit, because obviously if you do sell it out, you could make a lot, right? So, if you sold out a venue, and again, they're not all the same price, but let's say you sold, let's say you sold $2,000 of fucking £30 tickets, you could make 60,000. If you sold 2,000 tickets at £30 a pop, you can make 60. So there is money to be made. That's not including all the VIP packages and shit, charging for meet and greets, merch. So it's lucrative if you do sell tickets. But if you don't, fucking hell. 10,000 higher cost? Woo! So yeah, it's looking tough out here, man. It's looking tough. I can't believe I bought it. I can't believe I got it. Yeah. I can't believe I bought it. Yeah, Tim Dillon, sorry, Robert Henry, Tim Dillon, sorry, not coming out tonight, guys. Too much Cold Stone Ice Cream to finish. Exactly. That's the thing, because Tim is actually sober. He's actually one of the people that actually believe was sober, because he's so much of a wild guy and a freak that if he was fucked up, you'll be able to tell straight away. So I actually do believe he just gets too full on too fucking full on fucking food and luxurious ice creams and really nice steaks and just pigs out and just feels like, I can't be bothered to get on steak. Like, he just can't be bothered. He wakes up one moment like, I'd rather go shopping. You know what I mean? Fuck this shit. I honestly do believe that. Yeah. But yeah, it looks like Brendan Shaw's going to cancel the show. I've got nothing more to say about that. It's going to get cancelled, and I'm going to be £30 out of pocket. Yay! Amazing. Next, let's talk about this. So this is a clip taken from the Fire and the Kid subreddit where someone posted kind of mocking the Fire and the Kid channel. Sorry, the TFATK channel. And I want to know, what do you guys think about this stuff? I don't personally give a fuck. I take part in the sub. I'm active on there. Posting it all the time. So I visit the sub all the time. I clearly take some stuff on there to talk about here on the stream. But I am also watching a lot of the stuff myself and uploading loads of clips on my fucking Streamable, which I've got fucking tons. I need to actually upgrade my account to Pro because a lot of my videos are going to get deleted. So I don't always use clips from the Fire and the Kid subreddit. But when I do, I obviously mention it. But what's your vibe here in the chat? What do you guys think? Do you guys think the TFATK channel is taking the piss by essentially stealing the content they do on there and reading the comments out as their own words and shit? Like, this is kind of interesting. Look at this clip here.
He's such a fucking dimwit. The ego is off the charts. It's hilarious. Just imagine hearing a question being asked to someone who is #1 in the world in their field and thinking, I should interrupt. People need to hear my opinion first on this. And the funniest part to me is that Brendan's sitting next to DC, a champion fighter and UFC commentator, far more qualified to chime in on the topic than a guy who's infamous for getting his head bounced off the canvas and getting bullied online by homeless cats. And even with his credentials, DC knew to sit back and let Mike Tyson answer the question directed at him, because that's just common sense. If the average person did something this embarrassing, they'd be screaming at themselves the whole drive home. This dude Brenda broadcasts it for the world to see and just keeps on trucking. Papa really just fucking goes. Technically wise, Fury can go.
So what guys in the chat? Yeah, big up Jared Mellerick. So I didn't see you there, brother. Big up, big up, big up. Jesse says allegedly the guy behind the channel is a pedo. What? How did you find that out? How do you even know who he is? He doesn't show his face. He doesn't come on live. When he doesn't speak, does he? I don't know. Does he speak outside of the stuff he does? How do you even know who the fuck he is? The internet is fucking amazing. Number one, knowing who the guy is that doesn't want to show his face, and then also knowing that he might be a pedo is fucking wild. But that's a really strange turn. He's a pedo. Teju saying yes, I guess, to him being whatever. Jared Merrick said, I don't know. I'm a mod on the chat. TFATK. Okay, so you can't be impartial. Fair enough, Jared Mellerick. Andrew W saying the narrator's a problem and must be stopped. Wolfgang Rittner saying you are right about everything. AZ, I apologize for being sometimes skeptical. Okay, no worries, my friend. Dark Web J says source, trust me, bro. Okay, cool. I don't know. Obviously, the fact that he's making money off the posts on there and basically pulling the words that people are saying and just regurgitating it and just using that as a thing is mad. But it makes me think, have you guys seen that channel? I forgot the name of it, but it's a channel that talks about, like, it's like a tea channel on YouTube. It talks about, like, you know, content creator tea and culture commentating type, like, some in terms of like drama and whatnot and beefs. And what the person does is that they just summarize stuff and they get the opinions of what people are saying on Twitter. So it basically just in narrates the tweets. So if like what's his name? If PewDiePie said something, if Bruce said something, if Aiden Ross said something, I don't know. He would just like say those. He would just read out tweets basically and collage them. Hey, everyone's talking about this issue with this issue. Like, here's everyone's tweets on social media and just read it out. What do you think about that? Is that a bit bad to make money off the people's tweets? I don't know. Some people like that content because I look at it more so less from the content creator and more so people that enjoy the content. Because I know some people don't want to hear me ranting and raving about shit and going on tangents. They'd rather just get the kind of the headlines, the kind of synopsis, the brief overview of what's going on. This happened here. Brendan said that dumb thing. Callen did that dumb thing. Joe said this. This happened here. Fill in the blanks and that's it. And kind of going. You want it bite sized. So maybe that's where TFATK kind of comes good. But maybe the lack of credit and the lack of giving because I know he puts in the description, these are all coming from the Reddit, but no one's reading the descriptions. It should maybe be him flashing the comments on the screen. Hey, this person said this, and you're reading it out. But he obviously doesn't want that and kind of wants it to look stylistically like he's saying it himself. That's a little bit in bad taste to be making money off the backs of what people are legitimately saying. Because the funny bit isn't just the clips. The funny bit is also the comments, because the Friday Night Kids subreddit has some of the most funniest people on there. So when they're saying funny stuff and replying and giving their hot takes and shit, that's what's kind of giving the clip color and adding context and kind of, you know, making it funny. So the fact that he's just pulling the comments and parroting it like it's what he's saying is fucking insane to me. Why, to be honest? And I don't really have any, you know, I can't really begrudge people for feeling a way about it and maybe wanting to report him and shit, because that's kind of a bit wild, to be fair. You know, I feel guilty going on the main page and taking a clip, do you know what I mean, and kind of playing it on the stream and adding my commentary, but at least I'm doing that. I'm not going through the comments and, oh, let me just rabbit off this good comment that everyone kind of upvoted and use that as my kind of joke and shit. Like, that's fucking wild. But I love like people are just like going out there with no evidence and just calling a guy a pedo. It's fucking crazy. He just can't be calling guys pedos like with no evidence. But the internet is always gonna internet, innit? It's gonna go out there and just call you a pedo, no evidence whatsoever. Yeah, that guy's a pedo. It's like, yo, guys, chill. Anyway, let's move on from that one. Let's move on. Let's talk about this clip. Oh, it's about, no, this is well taken from the Friday Night Kids subreddit. This guy, I don't know who he is. Some guy called Joe EURELL. So you know who this guy is? Joe EURELL. I guess he's a comedian who says the following. A screenshot he's took of the Comedy Store in La Jolla that posted a clip of Brendan, a little flyer that he's performing there 2nd of June to June 4th this weekend. And he posted on his Instagram stories that says, I'm quitting comedy because Comedy Store La Jolla won't buy a ramp for comics in wheelchairs to get on stage, but they will accommodate disabled people like Brendan Schaub's Make-A-Wish to be a comedian. Which is fucking insane to say as a fellow comic. But another indication, I think, again, that his star has fallen, because there was a period in time where fellow comics, it didn't matter if you were able-bodied or not, you couldn't say this stuff about Brendan. He was protected. He had the protection of fucking Joe Rogan, right? Even if it wasn't said, it was known, right? Everyone kind of understood what the deal was. So the fact that these comedians have come out and be so confident to say this sort of stuff is fucking hilarious. But it also, they have to give a lot of credit and kind of kiss the feet of the likes of Kalila and the likes of Annie Liederman and Esther Pavinsky. They have to give a lot of credit to those girls, because I think those girls are the one that broke the dam. All these fucking comedians that go on like they're alphas and go on like they're badasses and I'm anti-counterculture, anti-woke. No, it took them getting behind a couple dainty women in comedy for all them to get the courage to step out and say, hey, this person's a douche, that person's a rapist, that person's a pedo. That's it. That's all it took. It took the courage of some women before they all got courage. So they all owe those ladies a huge amount of gratitude. But this guy Joe is going on a fucking mad one. That's a fucking hilarious thing to say. And of course the comments weren't that you know, they kind of continued. I actually want to double check it actually and see. The Comedy Store La Jolla, is it? Comedy Store, how do you spell that? Is it is it La Jolla? I think I said it before. I called it La Jolla, but it's actually pronounced La Jolla. Like, I think because you can't pronounce the J's in Spanish. It's like Llaves, or keys, Llaves or something. Is it Llaves or something? Keys. You don't pronounce the. I don't know. Anyway, let me just grab the Instagram or the comments. I want to see if the comments are still open. Are the comments still open on the Instagram stories? That's what I want to see. The Comedy Store La Jolla. Are the comments still open? Let's see. It's La Jolla in Spanish. It's called Jewel. Oh, okay. It's called Jewel. La Jolla is Jewel. Okay. In Spanish. Good to know. Yes, I legit didn't know Bappa is embarrassed to leave the house. Okay, cool. Let's see if this post has the comments open. I doubt they are. Ah, they okay, 42. So they're still there, but they must have closed them after a certain amount, I'd imagine. Yeah, see? Comments, okay. I don't know what this means on Instagram. When it says comments have been limited, does it mean that if you follow the person, then if you follow the account, then you can comment? Or does it mean they're not allowing any more comments now? Because I guess after you leave, I guess, yeah, morning, Eric, big up. I guess if you're a Instagram account and you don't turn off comments before you publish a post, but then somebody comments and you want to close the comments, then it will say that, I guess. I don't know which way around it is, but I always see that sometimes on posts. Comments on this post are limited. I wonder if it's because you have to follow the account first to comment, or if it's because they closed it after people commented. Anyway, regardless, the comments on the post that comedian posted here, let's see what it says here. I like the font. That's clearly like the Nike just do it type of style of font. This is actually a good flyer for him, not gonna lie, and definitely Brendan's best picture. It says here, this weekend, at Brendan Schaub, Showtime, the Schaub Show, The Fire and the Kid is back for 5 shows. Get your tickets now. These shows always sell out. Link in bio. X for doubt on that one. It continues. What the comments saying? Meh, I'll pass. Nice to see the store giving opportunities to mentally challenge people, but this one ain't it. Water. One person just says double dot. Another one. Why? No disrespect, but why? Is Tommy running the store again? Why? But why? It's fucking rude. Another person. LOL. Not one positive comment. Why are places still booking him? Another one. This place was supposed to headline Cobb's Comedy Club once. No, this guy was supposed to headline Cobb's Comedy Club once. It barely sold anything. He then cancelled it and went to Twitter to say it's because of how San Fran is dirty. It's the DA, man. The DA. I wonder if the London shows get cancelled. Who's he gonna blame? Is he gonna blame the fucking mayor, like Sadiq Khan? Is he gonna blame fucking mayor of London? Woo! Yeah, big up Winter. Big up Winter. Big up. Put some respect on Gringo Pappy's name, another person says. Another one here says, I don't want that. The best meme ever. Big up Theo Von. That's a legendary line that's never gonna die. I don't want that. Another person said, Z. Another one. This being promoted is the funniest thing about the show. Another one. Pass. Another one. Man, I love how haters post all the time. Another one. No thanks. Another one, heard that San Diego DA is dicey. Another one, at Brendan Schaub, our mother will be watching. This number Mitchell Shaw. Another one, hard pass. Yo, the comments are brutal, innit? Good thing he doesn't read comments. Another one. Another one, nope. Another one, Rapotemd. What's that mean? Rapotemd? I don't know what that means. Another one, can't believe this tool is getting booked. Another one, no, we don't want him here. Another one, now that's funny. He's not. But this funny. Another one. Whose jokes is he doing? None of us asked for this clown. No thanks. At Brendan Schaub, it's close to 6 years' time for you to start riding the Brody wave. You'd be surprised. Yes, another one. Offer heat as an option. Offer heat as an option. I won't be surprised. Oh, for heaters with the sparklers on it. Holy shit. Nope. Another one. It's the salsa cookies for me. Another one. Oh god, no. Open micers are better than this guy. No thanks. More comments. Holy shit, no. LOL. Upside down. What you call it? Clenched face smiley emoji. Mid. I think that's the rest. That's it. That's the end. But possibly one good comment in the sea of negativity. Fucking hell, mate. You have to have some thick skin to be Brendan Schaub. You have to have some thick skin. Have to have some thick skin. Legitimately. And just kind of just play to your crowd. Because I feel like there's no winning these people. There's no winning or convincing these people who've decided that you're just not funny and that you don't deserve any opportunities at all. There's no convincing them. There's none. And it's hard to convince him as well because his CV is so disaster. It's a disaster, isn't it, really? Because he's nearly 10 years into comedy. And the most recent effort, Gringo Pappy, is meant to be his best. Whew. And it's objectively the worst. I'm still going to die on that hill. I still think You'd Be Surprised is a better stand-up comedy special than Gringo Pappy, just in terms of how it's put together, stage, production, how he's performing on stage as well. It's just I think it's better. Again, it's not funny at all in the slightest, but if I had to kind of choose one to watch before I die, I'd choose You'd Be Surprised. But Gringo Pappy is meant to be shorter, half an hour special, 25 minutes actually in length. It's meant to be him way more experienced, way more seasoned, and it's not considerably better than the first one. That's not good indication that this guy's gonna get any better at the magical 10-year mark for comedians. Fucking hell. And then anytime he gets booked in comedy clubs, because I've noticed this be a thing, anytime he gets booked at a comedy club and they promote it on Instagram, they always close the comments when it's Brendan Schaub. They never leave the comments open. I think that's part of his kind of agreement to perform places. It's part of basically, I'd imagine when they post stuff on social, he maybe send them some PR headshots and stuff, maybe some blurb to put in the copy, blah, 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 blah. But another thing I'm sure that they do is that they don't he says you can't have comments open. It has to be closed comments, because when they do leave them open, it's fucking brutal. It's legitimately brutal. Really, really is. What the reply saying? Yeah, actually, why but why, guy? What did he say? The people that said but why? Down farm, ha ha ha. Why the place to keep booking him? Let's see what people said about that. What are the replies here? He sells tickets. I hate it, but he does. But because he sniffs Rogan's butt, because some people want to see a tweet. Yeah, okay, cool. So I don't know. I'm in two minds about this whole narrative. So he gets booked in places not because he sells tickets, but because he's well known. I think so. I think the idea that he sells tickets is a bit of a stretch. But I think because comedy stores in general don't sell tickets, the fact that he can sell some goes a long way. The fact that he can shift like 100 is still good enough for some places, because they can't shift sometimes 10 or 50. So the fact that he can maybe sell 50 tickets here and there is going to be beneficial, because they can get some money in the till, or some money through the doors and whatnot, and maybe increase some of the bar spend or bar take. I think that's what makes it make sense. But it's the idea that he actually sells out places, even though he's not. So that's why people book him even if it's not funny. I don't think that's true. I don't think comedy stores or comedy clubs give a shit if you're funny or not. They don't really care, unless they're trying to pass you to be a regular or something. It's not really a question of whether or not you're funny. It's always going to be a question if you can sell tickets for them. And if you can sell tickets for them, they're going to keep booking you. So Brendan does sell a portion of tickets, but I don't think he's selling in the thousands. Clearly not. Or, a considerable amount to sustain a long tour. But you definitely can sell more than most, because I think most comedians don't sell any tickets, personally. Because I have a hard time believing these guys actually can sell out, because the ones that do sell out, but the ones that don't, I just think don't, because there's not enough fans to go around, and ticket prices are expensive, and Skankface is charging £600 or $400 or some nonsense to go see some sweaty dudes in a tent somewhere in Las Vegas. Like, comedy isn't really worth the money, really. Unless the person you're going to see is actually going to put on a show. You're going to have a blast. You're going to buy some food. You're going to drink. You're going to buy... I don't know. If it's a whole thing. Like the big A-list guys, the Fluffies, the Sebastians, the Dave Chappelles, the Kevin Harts, cool. Those one-off kind of cultural moment things. But the rest of these comedians, are they really worth $30, $40, $50? Really? Really on a night out? And again, think about it. All these people going and watching them, even though they don't like their fans, they're all honest people, working class people, adults with families and shit. You have to have somebody come and look after your dog, look after your cat, whatever pets you may have, babysit your kids. Maybe get permission from the partner to go out, who maybe doesn't let you go out. Like, all that stuff is a lot. Pay for parking. Like, it's a lot of money to go out these days. So to pay for a ticket to go see a comedian, tell some rehashed podcast jokes. So I think a lot of these comedians don't sell tickets. And the fact that Brendan can sell some definitely, buys him a lot and gets him a long way. That's my opinion again. I could be incorrect. Who knows? But I think that's my opinion in that regard. All you guys saying here in the chat. Hey, O2 Academy in Glasgow, are they aware Brendan was caught soliciting underage girls? I'd be a new writer warden. Yo, I want no parts of that. Drone adventures, no parts of that. I'm not taking part in any ops. No, thank you. I was forced to reach out to them. He says, good Christian. Jared Merrick says, 67 times. Gold some says Pablo Francisco was funny as fuck and had a great time. Saw him twice. FER. Okay, cool. I don't mind that. No one wants to go to even the movies or shopping anymore. Exactly. No, I'm sure there are. Honestly, I think there are comedians out there. I personally think the ones that do the greatest are probably the kind of the hacky ones that comedians don't like the guy that does the puppet with the purple puppet. Who's that one? I forgot his name. I forgot what his name is, and they kind of use him as a meme on the Friday Night Kids sub. That stuff I'd imagine does well. Larry the Cable Guy probably does well. All those kind of dudes and gals and shit, I bet those guys sell out easy. Like the Fluffies of the world and shit. Cool. But these other comedians who they sell are murderers and stuff, like to go on, because these guys go on tour all the time because they want to make money, because the road is lucrative, but they also exhaust their markets because there's only so many times you can see Chris Stefano or something, right? Do you know what I mean? Once you see him in June, do you really need to see him again in September? Probably not. But they go on the road a lot because it makes a lot of money. So I'm sure they just exhaust their markets anyway. So some of them probably could sell out more venues, but they just keep exhausting their markets, and it just, it gets to a point where people are like, enough of you. I think that possibly does happen with these people, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But I'm sure the more quote-unquote hackier comedians do well. Like Fluffy is next level. Okay, yeah, so actually, let me see. Is Fluffy actually going to perform anytime live? Fluffy... Because I would love to see, if he perform live, I'd love to see him perform live, actually. O2. Oh, he's actually performing in the O2. When? No way. When's this happening? Let's see. Gabriel Iglesias. Let's see if he's performing in fucking the UK. Because I'd actually go watch that. That's a comedy show I'd actually go and watch. When's that happening? In London. Oh, in October. Yeah, I'm going. For sure, I'm going. When is this? In October. Oh my God. Brilliant. Fucking brilliant. I'm definitely going to go see Fluffy. Because that's going to be a fun show. He's going to be fucking ridiculous on stage. He's going to be saying silly shit. He's just going to be there, he's going to want to make your belly fucking split open. So I'm definitely on board with that one. For shiznits. Fucking hell. Look where he's performing. He's performing in an actual fucking arena. Wow. How many seats is that? The O2 in London. What is that capacity? The O2 London capacity. Fucking hell. 20,000. Holy shit. That is a real fucking tour. That's a real London show. And so far, okay, only seats or the best available seats? Let's just make sure this is right here. But it only shows the blue. These blue bits are, so all these are sold out, the grey bits. Fucking hell. Okay, only one ticket. Let's see if I want to go by myself. Let's see how much that's going to cost me and if they're going to be available. £37 each in terms of going there. Row seats, as you can see there, are available, but not that many in those blocks. Only a few here and there. Fucking hell, mate. 20,000. Shit. But yeah, big up Fluffy. So I'm definitely going to go see that. That's nice. Thanks for reminding me of that one in the fucking stream chat. I'm definitely going to check that out. Because, yeah, I could use the £30 that I fucking wasted on the Brendan Shaw of London show that he's most likely going to cancel, and then use that to fucking buy the Fluffy tickets as well. So I'm fucking on that. No way, shadow of a doubt, I'm fucking on that for sure. Wow. Holy shit. The difference is fucking stark, isn't it, really, that one? The fucking difference is fucking crazy. Anyway, moving on from that one, we have to talk about this clip that's just gone viral on the Fire and the Kids sub, where Brendan Schaub talks about, in some detail, the most he's done so far, about his alleged, not alleged, we all knew, about his Adderall addiction. He's now trying to kind of retcon it or, tell a different story, like he always had it under control, it was never an issue. It's just like, bruh, we've seen the DMs, we've seen you asking for the baddies and the addies. We know what the deal is. Like, we know BGO exposed everything. We obviously see by your behavior, how you're acting, how you're slurring your words more than usual, and just in general how you're going on with life, and the fact that he used to speak about Adderall as like a weird... Because with Brendan, he used to speak about Adderall as like a biohacking thing. like a human optimization thing. Like he was basically using Adderall so he could do all the jobs that he's got, all the podcasts he's got, because he's always hustling and always grinding. He kind of used it as a flex, as something to kind of flaunt to people. Like, oh, look at how much fucking work I'm getting done because I'm doing so much fucking Adderall. And now he's trying to, retell the story. But it came up during a recent episode with Jay Moore. He sat down with them, the once enemy of BERT KREISCHER and the boyfriend of Jeannie Buss, one of the executives over there at the LA Lakers. I don't know why I know that, but I do. And he sat down with the Fire and the Kid, and I guess he spoke about his addiction. And again, Brendan, classic comedian form. You speak about something, I make it all about me. So this is a clip here where he speaks about and admits to being an Adderall addict.
I wasn't
so you
honest
can
with
do more
myself.
pills.
Today you just told me that you had this whole addiction with Adderall.
I've told you before.
No, but I know. But I'm saying today you just said that today you were saying
This is about Jay.
Yes, awkward. But you said you kept interrupting.
I said
me.
on Rogan.
You were interrupting all the time when we were doing the podcast.
Remember that? Like 6 months
People
ago?
were always saying that to me, and I didn't.
No, we've been saying that forever. This guy's been interrupting and ruining podcasts for fucking ever. And it's been annoying. And I think one of the things that could easily remedy the interrupting thing is headphones. One of the reasons why the Joe Rogan experience is so good and why it works, especially in terms of an audio experience, especially if it's more than two people, it's more than just Joe Rogan and the guest, is because he gets the guest to wear headphones and they monitor themselves. So you're hearing yourself and you're hearing the other people speaking to you on the pod. So like a normal conversation you'd have with somebody, if you're on the phone and you kept hearing yourself interrupting them, you'd stop and let them speak. And it'd make for a far more enjoyable conversation, especially when there's more than two people on the pod. Or if you have a tendency to interrupt. But for some reason, Brendan just is impervious to any suggestions, any insight, any whatever, any suggestions, any advice, and just kind of part it off as haters. But people that don't even enjoy the show would tell them, stop interrupting. Let people finish their sentence. Ask a question. Let someone answer them. On the Schaub show, on the fucking Food Truck Diaries, you ask a fighter a fucking question and then just answer it himself. And let the fighter just stand there for like 2 minutes waiting for him to fucking answer the question that he asked them. Like, that interrupting thing was happening before the Adderall. So, another kind of annoying thing about this version of the Fire and the Kid, being a football fan, is how fucking cucked out Bryan is for Brendan. I understand his loyalty to him because in a weird way, Brendan has been the one constant in Bryan's life. And the fact that Bryan went through that traumatic rape allegation shit, right? That probably is true, but whatever. You kind of just, bounce off of that one. But going through that and getting cancelled and shit, and off the back of just finding success in Hollywood in his late 50s, right? And then getting cancelled and having to start again and only having podcasts to rely on. I understand why he's holding on to Brendan for dear life and defending him with his life and using his body as a fucking human shield to protect Brendan from any sort of criticism. But let's be real. Brendan was interrupting before Addies and Baddies. Brendan was being a douchebag and being fucking horrendous to fucking talk to and to communicate with and whatever it may be before the Addies and Baddies. It wasn't the Addies and Baddies that turned him into that guy. He just, for some reason, turned into that guy. Maybe it's the money, maybe it's the fame, maybe it's his ego. We don't know. But everybody's been calling it out from day dot. It's not the Addies and Baddies, just the fact that he is the way he is. But I love this retelling of the narrative.
I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I didn't know you were on Adderall.
No one did.
Right, but you would constantly,
it to me.
right, but you would constantly interrupt, and I never understood what was going on.
I wish. No,
Yeah.
even my wife, she had no clue. Till she was doing the laundry, and I was telling him that she was doing it because before I do stand up, I'd have the pills. So I would wear these jeans. I'd have pills here,
Damn.
and then you forget because you're going through it. And she was doing laundry and wringing it out, and they fell on the floor. My kids were like, oh.
Here, Brendan Schaub missed a really, I think, decent joke from Jay Moore. He's talking about his pants having loads of pockets where he put all these Adderalls in, which I think is a bit of a lie. I pressed X for doubt on that one. That whole, the wife was doing my laundry and all these pills fell out like M&Ms. Bullshit. If you take Adderall, I'm assuming, because it's basic speed, you're doing a lot of it. You're not going to just have 10 Adderalls lying around. You're doing them all the time if you're actually addicted to it. So the fact that he would have a couple just lying all around, all over the pockets of his fucking denim sweatshorts, denim combat sweatpants with elasticated cuffs at the bottom. Honestly, these pants are the worst pants ever. I fucking hate these pants that he always wears. I hate them with the same level of hate that I hate Bryan Callen's fucking annoying, stupid, blood diamond, human, animal exploitation fucking toe-hold sandals. I fucking hate those shits, but I hate those denim combat elasticated pants more. They're fucking horrible. But listen to J Mo's little joke that they completely miss.
Oh, candy. I'm like, nope.
Was it those jeans like for a bit?
What?
You wore those jeans like for a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, Brendan. You're a professional comic, man. Get with the fucking... Come on. He's so fucking slow. Like, it took him so... Chin had to laugh. Then Bryan. Then he realized, but his brain still didn't connect it because he's in serious mode. He's bearing his soul. He's being honest. He's really being true. He's being for real. He's being self-reflect. Like, come on, you're a comedian. Come on. You have to be able to oscillate between both modes. Silly, serious. Silly, serious. Dick, eat. What's something called bean cheese. Bean cheese. Ah! Holy shit! Bean cheese.
Yeah,
Jay, come on,
I'm
man.
a mechanic.
No, Jay, those are.
I'm a mechanic. Drive turkey.
Yeah, he's got those pockets in case.
Drive turkey.
He has to keep things.
Yeah, but no, I hear it from everybody.
Yeah, I didn't know. I never knew anything until.
And then
I hear it. Bruv, he says here and hair with the same level in it, pronunciation. Hair. I hear it. No, you hear, not you hear it. But hey, regardless.
Now who's interrupting?
All right, that's my stage voice. Apologize. I did stage.
But then, like, whenever it was, I quit once we were on. How long were we on Rogan? Because I finally brought up on Rogan. Rogan's like,
no, you and I.
Here comes the superhero story. It never. These guys, they always fucking lie because everything always ends in like a heroic way, and then I just quit like a superhero. Like, come on, man. Look, here comes the lie. Here comes the cap.
I had that talk
out there, and
because I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Really, Bryan saved your life is where he's going with this.
No, I didn't. I just didn't know what was going on with him because he was more and more disconnected.
Yeah.
He was interrupted constantly. He wasn't listening. He wasn't taking the stories. I could tell I would say something, he wouldn't even hear it, and he'd just move on.
Bryan, he does that all the time. Why is this guy cucking for this guy so much? It's so sad and pathetic to see a man. Oh, by the way, Rinks is looking all the fucking Rinks right now, isn't it? He's fucking aged like a fucking pear. He's fucking, forget avocado, he's aged like a pear. Have you ever bought a bag of pears from the fucking shop and you bring them home and they're fucking, they're not ripe at all, they're super fucking hard, like a fucking rock, and then you cover them with something or you leave them out to, whatever, to breathe, and then you come back a couple of minutes later and they're fucking turn into fucking mush. That's what he looks like. You turn around like, shit, what happened to you? Bryan Callen's looking all of 60. You tell me that guy's 65, I'm believing you. You tell me that guy's 45, I'm saying, damn. Like Kevin Hart meme. Damn. If you told me he was 45, I'd be like, shit. Like Bryan Callen's looking all of his age right now, right? His face is giving 65, his arms are giving 45. Holy shit. His face is giving 65. Honestly, look at him. Fucking hell. And he's out here cucking for Brendan. You disconnected and not connecting. Bruv, he's been not connecting from years, from day dot. He's not been giving a shit about what you're saying.
I wasn't present. I was also kind of mean.
Kind of mean. Kind of mean? You mean like a bully? Define bullying, Papa. Define being mean. Define it. Define being mean. Mean. Kinda mean is the understatement of the year. Kinda. Yinda. Come on, Yinda.
I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I was just go.
I never saw the mean. I just saw you totally.
Of course you didn't see the meme. You're busy sucking him off. Fucking hell. I didn't see the meme. Daddy, keep paying me, please. I've got alimony to pay, please.
I hit you a few times. But
yeah, you struck me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it's a super isolating drug. Like you do it in private.
Hilarious, isn't it? Jay Moore, I'm assuming I didn't watch the entire episode. I just took out this clip. But from what I am able to surmise from the comments and the replies in the Frightened Kids subreddit, Jay Moore brought up the issue of his addictions. And they made it all about him. So he had to sit there and listen to them make it about themselves and then jump back in and say, anyway, what I've learned on my journey, actually being sober and actually doing the work and actually going to therapy and blah, 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 blah. It's fucking hilarious.
Private. It's not something you share. It's very monetized and itemized. Like, I know how many I have left. I know I got this flight. I know I got to land there. I'm not sure where the hookup is. But you get really aggressive and you interrupt a lot and it's constant and you're in your head. So I don't hear a word you're saying because all I'm thinking is that what I just said makes sense.
I'm not going to lie. Adderall sounds kind of fun. But from what people have been telling me in the comments and from what I've been reading online, because it's not the most popular drug here in the UK, I don't really know because I left uni some time ago. But even when he was in uni, no one was really doing Adderall. It wasn't really a thing that's done here in the UK that much, unless I don't know about it. But effectively, it's basically speed. But I don't know. If this was something that was prevalent when I was growing up, I maybe would have been susceptible to doing some myself. I'm not going to lie. Like, it does sound kind of fun. But I am understanding if you're a podcaster that has too much free time and you make your own schedule and you do Adderall under the guise that you're gonna do more content and shit, it can get you down a really dark path very, very quickly.
Wow.
And you're seized up. We were talking about like just riding the brake at a red light.
White knuckle.
Just like having to go. I had to go through brakes on my car just from fucking pumping it.
Dude, I
remember all the cracks in my teeth?
Yes.
Remember the dentist? Like, he has cracks in his teeth, and I was like, yeah, it's because stress.
Oh, dude.
It's the Adderall, because you clench down.
God damn, man.
Yeah.
He's missing it, dude.
Yeah, people,
I was
and like nobody knows you're doing it.
No.
Like you were saying, and like, or you didn't know he was doing it. Nobody
I had
knows
no
you're doing
idea.
it. It's
His
a
face
pill.
would be swollen.
Yeah.
But
they just thought like,
Brendan gave him that look. Shut the fuck. What? What do you mean by my face to be swollen? Brian's saying everything now, and Brendan gave him that look like, shut your mouth. Mind your manners. You see that little look? What? Face swollen? What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
people, and like nobody knows you're doing it.
No.
Like you were saying, and like, or you didn't know he was doing it. Nobody
I had
knows
no
you're doing it.
idea.
It's
His
a
face
pill.
would be swollen.
Yeah.
But
they just
Brendan gave it a look. He rolled his eyes a little
thought
bit.
like,
Hilarious. They're having an intervention about this guy allegedly curing himself of Adderall addiction. Yeah, all right, buddy. Sure. The only reason why you're not doing it anymore because you're not friends with BGL, he probably has no idea how to get it himself. That's the only reason why he's not doing it. But come on, man. Come on. Let's be real.
I was fucking insane because I would be so irascible, and then you would be like, not you, but somebody be like, bro, like, are you all right? And I'd be like, I'm fine. What the fuck? Then I go and use more because I'm bent out of shape by what you said. Then the next time you see me, I'm even more frenetic.
Yep.
And then you're like, I don't want to hang out with that guy anymore. I'm like, so it's just this space keeps happening.
Until you're by yourself.
And you're completely
were
by
you on
yourself.
Adderall?
Hey, guess what? You're by yourself, Brendan. You're by yourself, basically. Anybody that hangs, that's a sad kind of cautionary tale, I think. I think even Adam 22 is a good example of it, going through what he's going through now with No Jumper and everybody leaving, and obviously Brendan, and to some extent Joe. It's a cautionary tale. Keep in touch with your friends and your family, or maybe cultivate a circle of people around you that actually are your friends, because you could reach a point in time if you're not really open to criticism or feedback or brutal honesty with your friends, where everybody just like, you know, they get to a point where they don't need you as much as they did before in the past, and they just stop hanging around you, and then you end up having to pay people to be your friends, essentially, and the only people that are around you are the people that you pay. That's where Brendan is position-wise. There was a period in time in the past where Brendan probably could say he had a lot of friends in comedy. But now, with the rape allegations against Bryan Callen, the pedo allegations and harassment allegations against Chris D'Elia, a lot of people are kind of staying away from those guys because they're not good for they're not good for the image or whatnot. So they kind of not answering calls, not going to their pods, blah 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 blah. Cool, if that's the case. But what happens there is that you end up being alone on your own little island. And it's not the best island to be on now. So this is the cautionary tale in that regard, where you end up being alone. Not through drugs, just through you being a douchey, having a douchey attitude. That's the unfortunate side of things.
When you try to sprint, Chappelle.
Oh yeah.
So he goes, I'm gonna race you, and he's 40. I'm like, please don't sprint. I go, please do warm up. Please warm up. And he goes like, hey, I got this. Right in my face. He goes, I got this. I'm like,
I go, shut the fuck up. I got this.
No way are they blaming Brendan Schaub thinking he could beat Dave Chappelle. He could beat fucking Chappelle Lacey in a race on the fact that he was addicted to Adderall. You can get fucked if they're doing that. No way are these guys trying to spin Brendan getting embarrassed in that race and faking an injury, faking the fact that he blew his hamstrings out when he didn't. He didn't blow out one hamstring or anything. At most, he got cramp because he didn't stretch and because he doesn't drink water. He believes he gets the same amount of liquids through coffee and drinking whiskey and booze that he do if he drank water. So he doesn't drink water. That's why he probably got a cramp and because he didn't stretch. No way are they trying to blame that embarrassing race and Brendan's refusal just to admit that he lost and have some level of honor and grace about it and hold his hands up and say, yep, I got that wrong. I was being too cocky and arrogant. I thought because I was a former athlete that I could be faster than some, professional gymnast from back in the day. Was it cheerleader, wherever he was, Chappelle Lacey, and also being a fucking black guy. He's going to be faster than you anyway, unless you're faster than him. And Brendan was never known as somebody that had fast twitch, explosive pace or whatnot. That was never him. So the fact that he thought could be faster than this guy, it was insane anyway. He goes and runs a race, and then he realizes he's losing, and then fakes he had an injury. No way are they trying to blame that on fucking Adderall. The revisionist history, the coddling of this guy's emotions and feelings is so embarrassing. I would hate it. I would hate to be 45 years old, however old fucking Brendan Schaub is, and to be like this as an adult. It would be my worst nightmare. To have friends around me and family who couldn't say what they actually felt about me honestly. Fair enough if I don't receive it well, but they can't even be comfortable to say it. They have to kind of coddle me and make excuses. Oh, it was the Adderall. Oh, it was the wind. Oh, it was the ground. Excuse me? Your trainers. Huh? No, I just lost. I got embarrassed. I was a douche. I thought I could beat this guy in a race and clearly I couldn't. What the fuck, man?
It's like, what? I go, you can't just start running on concrete. We've been sitting. And he goes, no, I'm going to beat him in a race. And I'm like, this is so fucking weird.
Chappelle didn't race him, did he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Who won?
Chappelle.
Right.
Well,
he thought it was Dave Chappelle, by the way, not Chappelle Lacey. He thought that was Dave Chappelle.
Blew out my hand.
He blew out his fucking hands. He blew out both hamstrings. He had to lie down. We had to get a car and get him in the car and drive him here.
I find it hilarious how Jay Moore doesn't even question how they know Dave Chappelle. He just assumes because they're in LA, they must know him. Do you really think Dave Chappelle's going to waste their time with these guys? Come on, really? But it's hilarious how he thinks it's Dave Chappelle. They don't correct him. They just let the story run because it's funner.
Both hamstrings.
Both hamstrings.
Oh, yeah.
It was so bad that I could have made fun of him, but I was just like, something's wrong here. I couldn't figure it out.
It's amazing, like, as you get older, you ask if the person's okay, then you laugh. When you were a kid, you're like, are you okay?
You're like, seriously, okay?
So how long were you doing Adderall?
Probably 6 months, hardcore. Yeah. I mean, hardcore for me, but I was into the point, like Jay was like, I was able to be like, you're going down a bad road, and I went cold turkey.
Right.
But then I was telling him, you don't realize there's like a lag because your brain's so used to that medication that when I was like, I'm gonna stopped on a Friday, had shows Saturday and Sunday, then Monday went to do the podcast, and your brain it can't function off it. So I was flubbing my words. Sometimes I would do a podcast that I'd get done. Someone's like, what'd you just cover? Couldn't tell you.
No idea.
Jeez.
You know,
Can't tell you.
we were talking before you got here, like, when you do stand-up, it's like you're just throwing railroad ties in front of a really you're the fast-moving train, and there's like this other spirit that we all have in our business that you just fucking tossing railroad ties right in front of the train. And when you're on Adderall, or when you get off Adderall, that guy's missing and the train still, it's like, you just keep hitting that ditch. I gotta piss.
Go piss.
It's all good.
Anyways, I find it fucking hilarious that they're trying to retell the narrative as Brendan will say, and try and blame all of his douchebaggy behaviors and his tendencies to interrupt on a podcast on Adderall, when we all know this was, this behavior happened BA before Adderall and after Adderall, right? Like, this was always a thing that happened in a consistent run through. Tying of fucking Brendan Shaw's podcasting career has been this tendency to keep interrupting, to not letting people finish their sentences, to stepping on stories, stepping on bits, being a fucking bit killer Jones, not riffing correctly, not riffing humorously or funny in any type of way, just being devoid of any comedic sort of chops in any kind of fashion. Trying to one-up stories with redacted stories and lies, and just generally being not the best conversationalist on the podcast. It's a common theme around this guy. And the fact that they're trying to spin it as an Adderall thing is fucking wild. And the fact that Bryan Callen is the one doing it, insane that he's cucking for this guy so much like this. Insane. A guy in your fucking 60s or 70s or whatever how old he is, like grown man trying to mollycoddle all the emotions of a grown adult with kids. It's just fucking redacted. Because if he actually wants the guy to make some change, he'll be honest and say, hey guy, we got a good show going here, but I feel like you're fucking shit up because you just can't stop interrupting. Can you shut your fucking pyro up for a minute and let me speak? Is that possible? Can you do that for me? Okay, yeah, cool. Let's just try a couple episodes with headphones on. Let's try a couple episodes where you let me, because you see Bryan Callen when he's on other shows. He's so loose. He's way more funnier. He's a lot more interesting because he gets the time to actually be himself. He has a chance to finish his sentences, to go, flesh out a thought or whatever, or go through some bits. Maybe only with Steven Crowder, he kind of feels walking on eggshells, but Steven Crowder's a little bit of a, he runs a tight ship. But anytime you see Bryan Callen on any show that isn't to do with Brendan, he's way more loose, way more free, way more chill. Why? Because he's not having to constantly tame the lion, tame the interrupting lion that's there, that's fucking covered in fucking Adderall dust and shit, right? That's what he's doing. It's absolutely weird, really strange. But hey ho. Hey ho. So that has been it for the Random Show episode number, I think 114. I think I said right. 114. It's been amazing. It's been great. I hope you guys have had a good time. We've streamed all the way through to the morning. It's now very early in the morning over here in London. I'm gonna get some nap time because luckily today I've got a day off work, so I can kind of chill and do what I need to do. I'm going to get all the stuff clipped up and uploaded and whatnot. So you're going to see all that happening. And then, yeah, man, I'll be back again later for another AgostinhoZinga show. So I'll be happening again. So if you want to check out my, ideas on cultural stuff and scene stuff and whatnot, check back for that very, very soon. But apart from that, I appreciate all of you so far. And I will see you all again very, very soon. Big up everybody tuning in on the stream chat. Big up Vagabond. Big up Gabriel J. Jared Mellerick. Big up Earth Mind. Big up Saturday Night Rive. Big up XGian. I think Gabriel J here in the chat. Robert Blake in the chat. Red Don in the chat. Many people in the chat. Too many people to mention. Someone called Josh Burke. Big up everybody. Appreciate all of you so much for tuning in and hanging in there. It's been a fucking pleasure. And I'll see all of you guys again very, very soon. Do not delay. I'll be back again very, very soon. You know the vibes. You know how it is. Yeah, man. Big up everybody tuning in. See you again very soon. Take care, innit? Be safe, everybody. Peace out. Peace out. Peace.